Entrepreneurship Summit at Stanford University in California.
President Obama told the entrepreneurs from all over the world that he has spoken to Prime Minister David Cameron and that their and our financial and economic teams will remain focused on growth and stability. He said, after speaking with German Chancellor Angela Merkel as well, that he's confident the U.S. will remain close to its Euro allies.
I do think that yesterday's vote speaks to the ongoing changes and challenges that are raised by globalization. But while the UK's relationship with the EU will change, one thing that will not change is the special relationship that exists between our two nations.
The president also said that the world is better off with trade, networking, and communication, even as cultures collide.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. More than 100 homes are badly damaged or destroyed in flooding in West Virginia. Here's Fox's Evan Brown.
Chris, those storms plaguing parts of West Virginia have been more deadly than thought.
I'm saddened to report that at this point we have confirmed 14 individuals who have lost their lives in the storm. Our hearts go out to all their families.
West Virginia Governor Earl Ray Tomblin, he's sent out the National Guard to help search through neighborhoods along the Ohio River and rescue anyone who's been trapped. There's an evacuation in progress for as many as 500 people who've been caught at a shopping center in the town of Elkview where a roadway collapsed, Chris.
Evan, thanks. So far, FBI investigators tell the Associated Press there's no evidence the Orlando nightclub shooter was pursuing gay relationships. There have been claims that Omar Mateen was a regular at the club and used gay dating apps. You're listening to Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Focus. You need it to run a business, so don't let legal questions distract you. Use LegalZoom instead. Things like lease agreements and employment laws get complicated, but they're part of running a business. That's why LegalZoom built a network of independent attorneys in 48 states. You can rely on them for the legal details without paying by the hour, since LegalZoom isn't a law firm. So focus on growing your business and use LegalZoom for the legal stuff. LegalZoom. Legal help is here.
Take a test mow today on the John Deere Z535M Z-Track zero-turn mower with the re-engineered Excel Deep Mower Deck to mow faster, better. Because it's not how fast you mow, it's how well you mow fast. Visit your local John Deere dealer today and see why nothing runs like a deer.
Visit any one of AHW's 12 convenient locations or ahwllc.com. For more information, visit myjohndeeredealer.com.
The number of Americans misusing painkillers has more than doubled in recent years, according to the latest government data, and Fox's Jill Nato has more on that from D.C.
New research from the U.S. National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism says about 2 million Americans qualified to be called prescription opioid addicts in 2013. And the Institute's reporting that back in the year 2000, about 2% of adult Americans admitted to using opioid painkillers when they didn't have a doctor's prescription. That number jumped to 4% 13 years later. Men are more likely to abuse painkillers than women, and that abuse happens most often in the Midwest and Western parts of the U.S. Chris?
Jill Nato in Washington, thanks. A protest in Lower Manhattan today. More than 100 people protesting a Supreme Court decision that blocks President Obama's immigration plan. It would have shielded parents of children here legally from deportation. The singer Sinead O'Connor says on social media she's fine.
Chicago police last night issued a be on the lookout for Sinead O'Connor after receiving a report from authorities in Ireland who told them that O'Connor contacted her family saying that she was suicidal and threatening to jump from a Chicago bridge. But the 49-year-old Irish singer resurfaced on Facebook this morning and is critical of the suicidal claims, calling them false and malicious and saying that she's too far happy over Britain's history-making vote to exit the EU. O'Connor also writing that Ireland is officially no longer owned by Britain, that Ireland's day has come. O'Connor has struggled with depression and just last month was reported missing by friends in suburban Chicago, but was later found in a nearby hotel. In Chicago, Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
An engagement ring Donald Trump gave his second wife Marla Maples is for sale. The estimated price, $300,000. It's a 7.45 carat emerald cut that Maples sold after their divorce in '99. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News Radio.
Here's your ESPN Radio 3-day forecast brought to you by Chief Bauer. Need a cooling expert this summer? Call Chief Bauer Service Experts at 866-EXPERTS or visit them online at chiefbauer.com. Tonight, clear, a low of 62. Saturday, warm, sunny, high 90, low of 71. Thunderstorms on Sunday, high 86, a low of 64. Right now, partly cloudy, 80 degrees in Champaign-Urbana.
With the first pick in the 2016 NBA Draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Ben Simmons from Melbourne, Australia, and Louisiana State University. With the second pick in the 2016 NBA Draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Brandon Ingram from Duke University. With the fifth pick in the 2016 NBA Draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Chris Dunn from Providence College.
Well, Minnesota tried. I mean, they badly wanted. We've been talking about this for weeks, that Tom Thibodeau would love to bring Jimmy Butler to Minnesota. And when Chris Dunn slipped to the Wolves, Chris Dunn's a player that the Bulls, it's an open secret, Chicago really likes him. So that raised hopes, certainly among the Timberwolves, that they might be able to now put together a deal in which they could convince Chicago to give up Jimmy Butler.
With the 14th pick in the 2016 NBA Draft, the Chicago Bulls select Denzel Valentine from Michigan State University.
I just got better every year. And, why is that going to stop now? I feel like when I get to the next level, I'm just going to keep on getting better. You just keep on getting better. Those guys that have more potential on me, they're supposed to keep getting better, so I will keep getting better.
It is the Tay and J Show. Mike Carpenter in for Lante with Jeremy Warner. The day after Brexit, but more important...
How about the Brits, huh?
How about those Brits? But more importantly, the NBA draft was last night.
It does feel, on a day like this, and I was telling our interns, there hasn't been many global shifts in my lifetime.
This is big, isn't it?
We had the fall of the Soviet bloc.
And we were wee little guys when that happened.
We were wee lads then.
I don't remember any of that happening live.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, whoa, this global shift. And then you're coming on talking sports. When you feel like something bigger is going on, you feel that way whenever there's big news elsewhere.
But that's kind of our job, isn't it?
We are a diversion.
Yeah.
We are a diversion from the real world. We will talk about those things every once in a while.
We're going to talk about Brexit today?
If you want to weigh in at some point, Carp, you can give your thoughts.
We had a great roundtable, though, here with the interns, Austin and Nathan and Brendan. And by the way, they'll have their Pod squad.
Maybe we should podcast with them about Brexit.
I think it'd be great. I think a grab bag podcast would be kind of fun because sometimes the best conversations happen before we go on air. We should probably save a little bit for you guys, the listening audience. But the NBA draft last night, of course, the big story locally with the Bulls. Could there have been a trade? Was that never really in the cards? And then finally you get a guy that everyone here is pretty familiar with.
Yeah, Denzel Valentine. And we'll talk about Denzel Valentine, get a scouting report on him. Even though a lot of us have seen him, we haven't seen him up close as much as Graham Couch of the Lansing State Journal. He'll join us at 5:25. I know some people concerned about his knee, some people concerned about his athleticism and defense, but this is the AP National Player of the Year, a guy who produced as much as anybody, and in a league where offensive skill is really wanted and needed, and in a team that needs it, a coach that wants it, and Fred Hoiberg, I thought he was a pretty good fit. We'll talk about the draft overall with Michael Weisenberg, NBADraft.net, joined us yesterday to preview it. He'll join us today, kind of look at it more nationally, like look at the winners and losers of this things, or who he thought was a reach, who he thought it was a value. We'll talk Bulls as well this hour with Stephen Noe, theathletic.com, and I want to get your thoughts on the Bulls. And I think the bigger story than Valentine, who I think is a good role player to add to this team.
It's a good pickup, especially mid-first round. You feel like you got a guy that will contribute.
Yeah.
Could contribute immediately, and I feel like the basement isn't the floor, I should say, is not too low.
Rotation player.
Yeah.
I think he's an NBA player. I think he's a long-term starter, in my opinion. But at worst, I think he's a rotation player, and he'll be a guy on your team for a long time. And in a bad draft, I think that's pretty good to get. The bigger story was Jimmy Butler. The trade rumors about Jimmy Butler. And Gar Foreman came out last night, and GMs have to lie. They can't say, "Oh yeah, this guy was on the trading block, but he's coming back to our team. All's good."
Right?
You can't do those things. But it's obvious that the Bulls were listening on Jimmy Butler And they were considering, according to a reporter you really trust, and Casey Johnson of the Chicago Tribune.
He was the one that broke the Derrick Rose news.
Right, he broke the Derrick Rose news, and then, of course, he's been into that organization for a really long time, and he was saying the Bulls were having serious discussions about, do we blow this entire thing up? And what I find most interesting about this last week with the Bulls, Carp, is they see what we see, that this was untenable, and that they had to fix it somehow, and they decided to trade Derrick Rose. But last night, it seemed like they were really considering trading Jimmy Butler. I don't think they got a package worth trading for him, but I think that in itself, that they were listening, at least to Minnesota. It didn't seem like they had a trade offer that made sense for both teams, because they're not giving up Wiggins, and I don't think the Bulls should take any trade offer from Minnesota without getting Wiggins. So I just didn't see that happening. But Boston had some things that I think could have been really interesting, and the Bulls were at least thinking about it. And I think they were internally discussing, what is the best way to do this? To keep an all-star, try to fit some pieces around him, and maybe at some point we have enough flexibility to add another superstar whenever it becomes available, either through the draft, through free agency, through trade, or is it to tear the entire thing down and do what we did about 15 years ago, which was a long, grueling process.
It really was, and we remember what those teams were like, and that wasn't fun basketball to watch. And, yeah, no matter what, even with Jimmy Butler, this is going to be an odd team coming up this year. And yeah,
it's an odd year.
It really is.
Yeah.
They could sneak in the playoffs, but they aren't anywhere near a title contender, and they won't be for a long time. So to this idea of blowing everything up, I would be perfectly fine with moving Jimmy Butler. But when you do, you need to absolutely max out what you get in return. And the concern I have going forward is the market ever going to be higher for Jimmy Butler?
Right.
Now, he could come out and have an absolutely fantastic first half of the season, and then you move him then, and something comes up. I'm not sure if a midseason trade is going to get you the value that you would want or could get in the NBA draft. The thing with the NBA draft is you're looking for that next superstar, and sometimes you get lucky with a 30th pick and a Jimmy Butler who, for a 30th pick, you could not do better than that.
And the Bulls didn't see that happening.
They didn't see that happening, and for all I know, Denzel Valentine might continue to improve at this exponential rate he did in college, even though I think there's kind of a cap on what he can be. But with the Bulls, hearing that Chris Dunn could have been on the Chicago Bulls, that's very enticing. But there's no guarantee that Chris Dunn's going to be great either.
Or better than Jimmy Butler.
Right.
And that's the key. Jimmy Butler's 26 years old, right? I mean, he's still got a long career ahead of him. Now, his prime years are a lot closer than Chris Dunn. But when the Minnesota thing came up, we've been talking about that possibility for a while. Number 5 and Zach LaVine. And Zach LaVine's the dunk contest winner. He can shoot a little bit.
A little bit.
He's got a decent ceiling on him. But do you think you're a better team long term with Chris Dunn and Zach LaVine than you are with Jimmy Butler? I don't have confidence in that, so I would have said no. And the Bulls said no to that, apparently, and at least said no to number 5 and Rubio, which why would you get Chris Dunn and Ricky Rubio in the same deal? It made no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Boston apparently threw out number 3, which would have been Chris Dunn, and either Avery Bradley or Jay Crowder. I'm not taking either of those deals either, because I'm a big fan of Chris Dunn. I would love Chris Dunn on the Chicago Bulls with Jimmy Butler. But I don't have enough confidence that Chris Dunn's going to be a superstar or even an all-star like Jimmy Butler to make that move. I feel like a lot of Bulls fans were disappointed because the rumors were out there and it didn't happen. Sometimes you just want to make a move to make a move and to be excited, but you got to get value. And I think the Bulls made the right decision last night based on the reports of what their trade offers were to not give up what is a great NBA player, not a superstar, but an all-star NBA player for 70 cents on the dollar. Now, if the Celtics would have given Dunn, Avery Bradley, and the 2017 Brooklyn pick, which is likely to be a top 5 pick, yes, I think I would have done that, but the Celtics obviously didn't offer that.
If and potentially when Jimmy Butler is traded from the Chicago Bulls, you at that point effectively remove any piece of value for a future trade. In other words, what you're saying, whatever you get in return, well, this is what we have. and it's going to be this group of guys and whatever we get through the draft going forward. And that is that's a big jump for any organization to make. They seem to go kind of halfway in saying, yeah, okay, we need to kind of dismantle this thing. We need to go in a new direction at least. And the Derrick Rose thing was probably more symbolic than anything, that they are going in this new direction.
But at least they got a couple pieces for him.
Yeah.
A starting center and a point guard that they liked in last year's draft, who was a first rounder.
Yeah, so there were pieces that came back in that trade, and it's like, okay, well, now you have at least some depth. And let's be honest, Derrick Rose, when it comes to win shares, kind of the basketball equivalent of WAR, he's kind of, you could argue, a below average point guard.
He was terrible until the final 2 months of last season.
How bad?
Terrible.
How bad is Jose Calderon? How much worse is Jose Calderon going to make you?
I think Derrick Rose is going to have a good year. I do. I think he's going to have a good year, but at some point, it wasn't going to work here. It just wasn't going to work here anymore. You were going to let him walk. So what's the point? What's the point of that? And if Jimmy Butler's your guy, go with Jimmy Butler. But I think the Bulls were saying, they haven't really come out and said, he's our centerpiece, he's our franchise player for the next 4 years. Because they're being smart. It's weird to say about the Bulls, but I like what they've done the last couple of days. I think they've done the right things in the moves that they've made and the moves that they haven't made. And I think Boston or Minnesota were hoping they got desperate last night, and they didn't. They held strong.
The best case scenario was Jimmy Butler has a fantastic year, 2016, 2017. You go into next year's free agency period, and then all of a sudden you look like that much more attractive of a spot. But the variable here that's going to be really interesting is the Fred Hoiberg and Jimmy Butler relationship, which clearly was strained. Jimmy Butler came out a few times and openly questioned the effort of his coach, which is kind of something new.
He questioned the toughness of his coach. He's got to be harder on people. And I think that was more, Jimmy shouldn't have done it because it was open rebellion of his coach. But it was basically pointed at Derrick Rose, right? I mean, it all came back to Derrick Rose. And you see Derrick Rose today. He's got his Knicks press conference going on now. He said, I feel like I'm close to his MVP form or whatever it is. No. And that's what I won't miss. No. I won't miss that drama. Now, Jimmy's brought his own drama. He's got to stop that. I mean, this is your team now. It's your coach, and you guys both are on 4-year deals here. Get along, otherwise, maybe he wants to be elsewhere. I know he'd love to be in L.A. with Mark Wahlberg and all that.
Right, and do you believe then, as a front office, that your future is better with Fred Hoiberg as your long-term coach or Jimmy Butler as your franchise player? Now, the thing is that Jimmy Butler, if you told me, and this all comes down to who you might be able to get through the draft, if you said Jimmy Butler is going to be the second best player on your team, we don't know who that number one guy, we don't know who that number one guy will be. Might come through the draft, might come through a free agency signing. But the problem is what you saw last year, even though Derrick Rose wasn't that good, his mere presence, you didn't see Jimmy Butler embrace this role. Not that he was the number two,
but
Jimmy
Jimmy was good when Derrick wasn't there.
Right.
That's what's intriguing about what happens.
And it is.
Year.
And again, that could come to this best case scenario that he has just a monster year, and all of a sudden Chicago, I did this last night. I said Denzel Washington about twice last night when I was talking with friends.
It's interesting. When the AP put him out as National Player of the Year, they said National Player of the Year Denzel Washington.
So you're not the only one. It just immediately goes there. So that would be it, though, is Jimmy Butler has a fantastic year. Denzel Valentine has a good rookie year. You feel like some of these pieces are in place. Jerrion Grant comes out of nowhere to be the sixth man.
Here's the thing. I think a lot of people reacting to Denzel Valentine aren't excited because they're hearing other reports about athleticism, all that. He's an elite shooter. He's an elite passer. He's a really good ball handler. I think he's okay to below average on defense. I think he's an okay athlete. He's just not a super athlete. But look at the Golden State Warriors. And I'm not saying he'll be either of those guys, but those guys aren't special athletes.
No.
They're specially skilled, and they're special people when it comes to work ethic and all that.
I think Valentine would qualify for that same description.
And I think Valentine's got a lot of similarities, some similarities to Clay. I think he's got some similarities to Draymond. I think he can be a very good role player. I think he can be a starter for you. But I think a lot of people are looking for some superstar at number 14 in a bad draft. I don't think that's really realistic, and I think people are looking at the Bulls roster as constructed today, and they got like 5 more steps, and you're only going to get to 2 or 3 of them probably this offseason because you need a point guard, you need another post player, you got to decide what Taj and Dunleavy are, and then you got to find your next star, and that's probably going to take a year or two, whether it's getting it through the draft or finding it through a trade or trying to sign it in free agency. We know how hard that's been the last couple of
Well, I mean, decades. Exactly. Not the last couple of years, last couple of decades for the Bulls. But free agency begins when? Next week?
Next week, yeah.
Okay, and that's
July 1st.
That's always so
July
much fun.
1st starts that period where you can talk with them.
Okay,
and then it gives DeAndre Jordan a week to say no or renege on his commitment, and then you can sign on like
that's
July
it's like Groundhog's Day when DeAndre Jordan comes out and sees a shadow. Then you know the free agency has officially begun.
But I do have, after we talk with Stephen Noe, the Athletic, I have 3 proposals, 3 different ways the Bulls can go off this offseason.
Okay.
With players they can go after, is it trade, is it free agency, what they can do.
They're going to be intriguing next year. Last year from the outset, there might have been a little bit, well, there was intrigue certainly with Fred Hoiberg coming in. Could he be the next Steve Kerr? Could this be the guy that the Bulls were missing? Well, you found out quickly that even with his flaws, Tom Thibodeau is, we could even argue, elite coach in the NBA.
Oh, he is.
I mean, if we're talking top 5 NBA coaches, you're putting him in that list.
It's just, I'm just imagining the phone calls. If Tom Thibodeau actually called up Gar Forman or John Paxson and talked with them. Now, I bet it's Layden, his GM.
I'm sure.
Had those conversations, but just imagining those conversations, because they were both to blame. Tom Thibodeau's a better coach than those guys are front office.
Yeah, but he's an oddball and tough
but
to work with.
But he was part of the problem as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they were both part of the problem, being stubborn, couldn't get on the same page. But Tom Thibodeau and what Minnesota has now, I love what that roster is. Now, it's 2 or 3 years away from being a contender, but they look like young Oklahoma City, don't they? I mean, you get Karl Anthony Towns, Chris Dunn as your point guard, Andrew Wiggins as a wing. Zach LaVine's an interesting piece, Gorgui Dang. That's a young, talented team that's going to be fun to watch grow against with one of the best coaches in the league.
We'll talk about Oklahoma City later as well. They had a big night getting a former Indiana Hoosier that we all know.
No idea what Orlando's doing. Not
sure.
I got to say, though, watching the draft or watching a draft or watching anything with free agency or whatever it is, it's all social media now. So like
the suspense is gone.
The ESPN, like if I had to stop watching ESPN show yesterday because it was pointless. They were so far behind. I turned on The Vertical, and Adrian Wojnarowski is the star of every NBA draft, right?
He's live reporting.
Yeah, he's live reporting all these things. But they have a show now streaming on Yahoo on The Vertical. I turned that on, and it was fantastic.
And I understand there was a panelist that was actually good.
Chris Mannix was the host.
Right.
They had some of their. They had a cap expert. They had a draft expert. Wojnarowski would go on. Jonathan Gavoni, who knew all these European guys, would go on, which is so needed. Fran Fraschilla was the star of the ESPN, and Jay Billis is still really good. But ESPN is just so far behind. I watched The Vertical, and Tom Crean was there. Jay Billis kind of broke down these guys, filmed, did all that. I hate to say it, he was good.
Yeah.
He was good. Mm-hmm. He knows his basketball. Like, he was intriguing. He was talking about Yogi and Troy Williams, and those guys didn't get drafted, and it was interesting to hear from him. He knew Thon Maker, right? Like, he recruited the heck out of Thon Maker, so he knew these kids. He was really good. I'm not a Tom Crean fan, but he was really good as an analyst.
If we ever question why Tom Crean is able to haul in consistently 4-star recruits and the occasional 5-star, like I'm guessing Thomas Bryant was a 5-star, that you're a recruit, Tom Crean comes into your room, he says, well, let's see, Dwayne Wade, Cody Zeller, Victor Oladipo.
Yeah.
I know that there's been others that he's had as well.
Thomas Bryant will probably
and it rings all too true on yet another draft night where there's not an Illinois player sniffing it.
10 years they've had one draft pick.
Yeah.
One draft pick. That tells you everything you need to
change.
know so far about Weber and John Gross.
Right.
Because Bill Self had 4 guys he recruited that were draft picks. Kruger had 3. Lou Henson, a lot of them came from that Flying Illini team, but he had 10 in 20 years. And that's a good rate for Illinois.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to get draft picks nowadays, but Illinois, you can't just have 1 in 10 years. Because Lon and I talked about it yesterday. That explains all their struggles, because coaching is big. Talent's the biggest factor.
Right.
You got to have talent. You got to have talent that gets to the pros.
Well, I mean, the funny thing is Wisconsin was putting in plenty of... We always talked about Bo Ryan. Well, he's doing more with less. No, we had NBA talent on a lot of those teams since he's been there.
Now there's guys you can grow into NBA players.
Yeah, but you
got to have a certain skill set or certain size.
Sometimes the sure thing is the sure thing, and you can find that diamond in the rough, but if that's all that you're really able to get is the potential diamond in the rough, then your chances of finally getting another guy in the NBA, they go down. And hopefully next year, Malcolm Hill, and first round might be a stretch, but he will be on the radar. And
he is. I've talked to some guys. He's on the radar. It's just I think the biggest things for Malcolm Hill, obviously, is athleticism. There's only a certain ceiling he can hit.
Yeah.
But I think he's got the work ethic, and he's added 4 inches to his vertical. He's throwing down dunks. I think that's important. He'll never be the most athletic guy, but he's not a bad defender at this level. He's defended some good people at the Big Ten. I think he'll be kind of like Denzel Valentine, a below-average defender in the NBA if he gets there. He's got to become a better three-point shooter.
Right.
And that's what Valentine did this year. I think those two are kind of similar players. You know, Valentine's a much better passer, got vision, but Malcolm's taken strides in that. But Malcolm's got that mid-range game that's unbelievable. He gets to the free throw line. He's got to become a better three-point shooter because in the NBA, if you're a 6'6" shooting guard, you got to hit 40-something% from three.
So what you're telling me is next year, Malcolm Hill will be the Big Ten Player of the Year. Illinois will get a 2 seed and lose in the opening round at number 15. You know what? If you
would you take that?
I'd take that. I would take a first-round loss to a 15 seed if everything else happens before that.
A 2 seed and you lose your first-round game, people would still be calling for gross.
I don't know. That'd be a fun year. I mean, it would be a terrible way to end it, but that'd be a really fun year. I mean, Missouri kind of did that.
Would you get to the Big Ten championship game?
The Big Ten Tournament Championship game.
Yeah, would Illinois get to the Big Ten Tournament Championship?
Let's say if you win the Big Ten Tournament. I mean, if there's any banner, any silly little banner that you can put up, it's a good year.
I got you. Coming up next, we'll talk some Bulls. Stephen No, theathletic.com. If you want to weigh in, you can call us on the Jupiter's The Crossing phone line or text the Cheap Hour text line at 217-359-2255. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search Tay and J Show. Download the WSJK app on your phone. You can stream us and watch us live on YouTube. Just search Tay and J Show. Get our podcast at espncu.com or find us on iTunes, powered by GTPS Insurance. The Pod Prod Squad has been talkative behind the glass today. We got Austin Berkland, our producer, Nathan DeSutter is our update guy, and Brendan Dworzinski as our intern. They'll have the Pod Prod Squad podcast.
Episode number 3.
Later
tonight.
Today.
Should be out about, 7 o'clock, guys? Something like that, 7:15.
I'm guessing some NBA, some Brexit, and any movies coming out that they can review?
Well, Independence Day, the sequel. I've heard kind of meh things about that.
It just looks like a lot of fun, though.
It looks fun. It's got Jeff Goldblum. I haven't seen Jeff Goldblum in a long time. We got Bulls talk coming up, right?
Bill Pullman, too?
I think in a bit part.
Okay.
You see, he's a grizzled former president now. He's got PTSD. His wife died in the first one.
I know. Gave the greatest speech in American history.
He did. No Will Smith, though. That hurts.
No Gettysburg Address. Gettysburg Address.
And you know what's funny? Real quick, Brexit, before we go to break, is that one of the leaders, and I think it was Nigel Farage.
Yeah.
He even said, "Today is our Independence Day." He said it so much last night. I was like, dude.
That's awesome.
You got to credit Bill Pullman on that, please.
Stephen No, theathletic.com, talking Bulls next.
Tay and J Show.
An ESPN Radio Mike and Mike Extra Point.
There is absolutely no earthly reason that golf should be an Olympic sport.
Right.
There is not a single player in the world who would sooner win Olympic gold in golf than one of the majors, or frankly, probably any of the other events on the PGA Tour. So personally, I don't know why in the world they're doing this in the first place. I have no problem whatsoever with McIlroy deciding not to go.
Hearing from Rory does nothing for me about this. Hearing from an NBA player is not going to go. Show me the athletes who toil in anonymity and work for their 4 years before they go. When they start not going, and I don't think that's going to happen, because to those people, this competition is everything to them. So I'm not going to lie. Pardon me if I don't really care that Rory is not going or some NBA player is not going.
Hear more from Mike and Mike tomorrow morning on ESPN Radio.
Celebrate summer in style with great July 4th deals happening right now at Lowe's, because nothing brings friends and family together like good food and a great-looking home. So hurry in today to save big on everything you'll need, like up to 35% off major appliances $396 or more. Plus, get a Whirlpool intuitive touch control washer and dryer starting at $499 each. Don't miss out on summer's best savings happening right now at Lowe's. Offers valid 6/22 through 7/12. Whirlpool offer valid on select items while supplies last. Price shown reflects discounts. Exclusions apply. See store for details and exclusions. U.S. only.
O'Reilly. Restore lost fuel economy and eliminate rough idle with Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, buy 2 bottles of Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner and get 1 free. Clean clogged injectors and increase fuel efficiency with Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner. Buy 2, get 1 free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. You buy Community Credit Union for campus and community.
Check out our
new U of I Community Credit Union website today. We've made a lot of exciting changes, including a more user-friendly experience for our members, a cleaner look, and our site is chock full of more information to help the community make smarter financial decisions. Visit us online at uoficreditunion.org.
Live, work, or study in Champaign County? Bank with the U of I Community Credit Union.
This 4th of July, head out to Lake of the Woods in Mahomet for Freedom Fest 2016. Spend the day enjoying the preserve. Rent a pedal boat and tour the lake. Go to the museum at the Grand Prairie. Play golf. Tour the botanical garden. Have a cookout. Climb the tower or go fishing. Freedom Fest 2016 will have music and motion starting at 3 p.m. and at 9 p.m. we will light up the lake with fireworks. Pay only $2 at the gate. Kids 5 and under are free. And join us for Freedom Fest 2016 on July 4th at Lake of the Woods in Mahomet.
Hi, it's Corey with Max Twin City Recycling. We pride ourselves on giving the area an outlet to recycle and get paid for their unwanted metals. We're taking our community focus a step further with our Recycling for a Cause program. Each month, Max Twin City will choose a different local charity to feature in an effort to raise money for those causes. Visit maxrecycling.com for a complete list of program details.
When you're heading home, Tay and J are on your way talking sports. Weekday afternoons 3 to 6 here on ESPN Radio 93.5.
It's time for the update with the 14th overall pick in the 2016 NBA Draft. The Chicago Bulls select Denzel Valentine, Michigan State. The Bulls got rid of a Rose on Wednesday, but they got a Valentine last night to make up for it. The Michigan State senior was the third senior taken in the lottery last night, along with Chris Dunn and Buddy Hield.
I see what you did there.
Thank you. I set up that joke. It's very nice. Valentine's all about versatility. Last year, he averaged 19.7 rebounds, 7 assists, and was a do-it-all option and leader for the best team in the Big Ten. His performance netted him the Big Ten Player of the Year and Associated Press Player of the Year awards. While he's not the most dominant on defense, he should provide the Bulls with a talented wing player who can make an NBA impact. In the second round, the Bulls took a chance on German forward Paul Zipser. ESPN draft analyst Chad Ford ranked him as the 12th best international product. And considering there were 16 selected in the first round alone, the most since 2002, Zipser could be a steal at 48. MLB, the Cardinals are in Seattle tonight for the continuation of their 9-game road trip that ends in Kansas City next week. It's a good day for night owls, but maybe not for Cardinals. They get underway at 9:10 p.m. tonight. It's Carlos Martinez against the newly acquired Wade LeBlanc. The 31-year-old LeBlanc was acquired from Toronto yesterday. Pitched in Japan last year and only in the minors this year. If anything, tonight will be an interesting game to watch. After winning 3 of 4 in Boston, the White Sox continue their East Coast battles at home against the Blue Jays. They dominated last time, outscoring the Canadians 21-6 in a 3-game series. Tonight, Carlos Rodon toes the rubber against Aaron Sanchez. Sox have lost 8 of Rodon's last 9 starts, and he holds a 2-6 record with a 4.16 ERA on the season. 23-year-old Sanchez has been pretty good for the Jays, posting a 7-1 record with a 3.35 ERA. The Cubs are on their longest losing streak of the season, 4 in a row. Whether you want to blame it on the injuries or the youth, one thing's for sure, don't panic. They still hold the best record in the Big. Kyle Hendricks battles Tom Kohler in Miami tonight to try and get things back on track. 3:30 Sports Center.
Summer means pools, picnics, relaxation, and it's also the perfect time for a mid-year financial checkup. If you've fallen behind on your goals, Busey can help you get back on track. Here are a few tips from their experts. 1. Rethink big goals. Financial assessments in the Resource Center on Busey.com are great tools to see if you're on track for saving for retirement, college, and major purchases. Have you been sticking to your budget? Review and ensure you're not overextending yourself and make changes if you think you can pay more and cut back if needed. Plan to pay off debt as swiftly as your cash flow allows. And there is no time like the present to ensure your estate planning wishes are documented. Message to my loved ones available on Busey.com. And also get creative with your passwords. This is really good advice. Protect your identity with new, unique passwords. Whatever your financial goal, Busey can help. From retirement planning to funding your child's college education, buying your first home to expanding your business, enjoy your summer free from financial worries. To work towards achieving your financial goals today, visit Busey.com or stop by one of their many convenient locations.
He's Michael Carpenter. I'm Jeremy Warner. It's the Tay and J Show. On Tay on assignment today. A lot of NBA draft conversation today. Later this hour, I'll give 3 off-season proposals for the Bulls? Should they trade? Should they sign free agents? What should they do? We'll talk about that. We'll also talk with Michael Weisenberg, NBADraft.net at the top of the 4 o'clock hour, and Graham Couch, Lansing State Journal, will join us at 5:25 as well. What do you think of what the Bulls have done so far, Carl?
I think it's a step in the right direction. Again, it's not the complete overhaul that I think some Bulls fans were maybe hoping for. And you know what's funny? If you took a straw poll of Bulls fans, first off, when the Derrick Rose news broke, I don't know what the majority would have said. I know there was a lot of support, especially in Chicago, of Derrick. But this direction that they're going and kind of retooling would be the word instead of rebuilding. Right. And is Jimmy Butler the kind of star that you would retool around? You mentioned in the first segment, 26 years old, and I think sometimes we forget that. There is still potential for Jimmy Butler to become potentially a superstar. I don't necessarily see that, but maybe he is the number one guy. Maybe he will turn into that, and he's not that far.
Can he be as good as Paul George? I mean, we've seen it at points, right? I mean, we saw Jimmy last year all of a sudden start to get 35-point games, 40-point games.
Pretty good in late-game situations.
I think Paul George could be a number one and a really good contender. I mean, Indiana was a couple years ago, right? I mean, they really weren't a title contender, but
they took the Heat to 7 games.
You know, sometimes tearing it down sounds good until you start doing it. And you got to get a little lucky. Just, you know, the Bulls tore it down, and look how long it took them just to get to the playoffs. And then they had to get lucky to get Derrick Rose,
right,
to get them into real contention. So,
and how did that all work out? Was it a trade for a first-round pick that they, or no? They were in the lottery.
They were in the lottery, 9th team, and they ended up getting Derrick Rose,
right, yeah.
or 11th team, wasn't it? So,
sort of like how the Knicks got
right,
Patrick Ewing and the Cavs.
Lucky. So sometimes it's not best to tear down when you're just trying to get back to where you were. Right now. So I think the Bulls can still, you know, if they can find a way to find that next star, have a path to contention again.
Time to head to the Jupiters of the Crossing phone line with Stephen No from theathletic.com. And Stephen, it's been a crazy week for the Bulls. The story of the night last night, though, was Jimmy Butler and the potential trade. As that story was unfolding, when you saw the potential proposals out there, were any of them enticing to you? In other words, if you would have been the GM, would you have went through with any of those proposals?
Absolutely not. I think that what the Bulls did was smart last night, and that they were holding out for as much as they could get for Jimmy Butler. And when you saw the offers from Boston and from Minnesota, it just was a very underwhelming package.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think some Bulls fans, Steven, are kind of just itchy for moves for the sake of moves. But what do you make of kind of the total rebuild versus this retooling, where you might take a step back, but you still might be a move or two away? So what do you think of kind of that debate right now?
You know, I think both sides have a pretty good argument. On the one hand, Jimmy Butler, I believe he's going to be 27 coming into this upcoming season, and the team's not going to be good next year. And you hate to waste a year of his prime. NBA players, their prime doesn't really last that long, so on that hand, it would be a shame. But on the other hand, as you guys say, like you need to have a solid plan for what you're going to get back. You don't just trade him to trade him. And the Bulls shouldn't feel like they're in any rush to get rid of him, too. I mean, they're kind of in the driver's seat here, and they should take advantage of that leverage they have.
What have we learned in the last couple of days with a lot of movement, a lot of talks? What have we learned about the direction of this franchise?
At the end of the season, Gar Forman had this press conference, and he and John Paxson said that everything was on the table. And when they said that, I kind of didn't believe them just because they've been known to say one thing and do another. But with this Derrick Rose trade, you saw that everything actually legitimately is on the table. And I think that they would have moved Butler last night if Minnesota had been willing to part with a little bit more. So it's going to be a really, really interesting time in the next couple of weeks to see what the Bulls do.
What do you think it would have taken from Minnesota or Boston? Because I didn't see, Steven, Minnesota being a match, because I thought without Wiggins, I don't think it made sense for the Bulls, but I thought with Wiggins it made no sense for the Timberwolves. I mean, Zach LaVine's interesting. I like Chris Dunn. I just don't know if I'm that confident he'll be a star to trade Jimmy Butler for him. And then the Celtics, I thought number 3, Bradley, and the Brooklyn pick would have been interesting, but it seems like the Celtics wouldn't go there.
Yeah, you know, I'll address the Minnesota stuff first. I don't think there's any chance that they're getting rid of Wiggins.
Right.
And depending on what reports you followed last night, they weren't even willing to give up Zach LaVine, which, I mean, I think that if the Bulls, if that's all they were asking for and Minnesota turned that down, then that was a huge mistake on Tom Thibodeau and Scott Layden's part. But, Minnesota has so many young pieces that I think that they could get a deal to work there if they're willing to negotiate and just kind of see what side see what the other side wants. As far as the Boston Celtics, they're in kind of a different situation. You know, their players are a little bit older, and getting Avery Bradley on your team or Jay Crowder, I don't really know if that fits in with what the Bulls' development plan is going to be, because those guys are already in their mid to late 20s, and the Bulls are going to have to bottom out if they trade Jimmy Butler. It's going to take a while to get better again.
Yeah.
Stephen O from theathletic.com. And Stephen, as we're seeing this approach from the front office, from Garpax, do you think that this is, you know, what I'm reading into it is these moves that obviously this team is not going to win a title this year, next year, the year after. This is maybe a long-term project. Does that signal to you that their job is safe? Like, in other words, would they have maybe kept from making the Derrick Rose move, similar to how they kept Paul Gasol at the trade deadline last year because of some delusions that they were able to compete for a title?
If they had not made some big moves and just ran the same squad back, you would have seen similar results to last year, I think. And at that point, I can't, as loyal as Jerry Reinsdorf is to those guys, I can't see him bringing them back with that same sort of misery that we went through last season. So I do think that they had a very strong incentive to make some big trades, kind of blow it up a little bit at least. And it does buy them some time because they can reasonably point to the moves they made and ask fans to be patient.
He's Stephen No, theathletic.com. Great stuff on the Bulls. You can follow him on Twitter at Hungarian Jordan. Well, they actually had a draft pick last night. I like that he was kind of the second story of all of this, but we've seen a lot of Denzel Valentine here. What do you think of him, his fit with the Bulls, what they want to do offensively?
I think that as far as the offensive side of the ball, Valentine is going to be a really good fit. He's a good three-point shooter. He can play off the ball, which we saw was a problem last year with Rose and Butler kind of fighting over possessions. He's a really, really smart passer, good decision maker. He is a good ball handler. I mean, all those things are great. The concerns that are always brought up are the other side of the ball defensively. He's very, very slow. John Greenberg, who writes at our site as well, he broke down the draft combine measurements for Valentine, and his speed was just like similar to the centers that were being tested. So I don't know, like, you guys might be faster than this guy. So that's definitely a concern. But, you know, like with all these young guys, it's really hard to project how they're going to actually perform in the NBA. So I would say there's reason for some muted optimism, and we're just going to have to see how he performs in the first couple months of the season.
What did you make of their options at number 14? Because this seemed like a pretty weak draft after the top 8.
Yeah, I kind of wanted them to take Wade Baldwin. I think he had a little bit more upside, but they went with kind of the conservative, safe pick, a 4-year guy. That's kind of what John Paxson has been known for in his time drafting with the Bulls. So I get the feeling that Paxson was really pulling hard for this guy. And I don't know, Gar Forman, he claimed that Valentine was second on their board behind Chris Dunn. I find that extremely difficult to believe, but I mean, they seem to be pretty happy with the pick.
And their second-round pick is a German, Paul Zeipser, whatever it is. Do you have any kind of scouting report on the German that the Bulls drafted?
Yeah, in line with the guys that the Bulls usually take, he has injury concerns. He has an extra bone in his foot, which he needs to wear some sort of custom shoe for, and he also had some sort of knee surgery in 2014 that caused him to miss 6 months of his German season. As far as like the type of player that you can expect to see, he is supposedly like a very strong three-point shooter. He can get to the rim. He's athletic. You know, like with all these second-round picks, it's kind of a crapshoot. You can't expect too much. And the Bulls they just purchased a D-League team last year, so I think there's a pretty good chance he starts there in the D-League. But they've had some really good luck with European scouting before. They took Mirotic a couple years ago, Omer Sheik, and back in the day they took Tony Kukoc. So I think there's reason for optimism with that pick.
Stephen, the Derrick Rose leaving the Bulls, that's been covered ad nauseum the last few days. I mean, it's a huge story and kind of the end of an era, but one thing that kind of gets lost in that shuffle is what they got in return from the Knicks. What do you make of that trade overall, and how does this help the Bulls going into next season?
Well, you got to remember that Derrick Rose was only signed on for this upcoming season, and then he was scheduled to be a free agent. So it seems like the Bulls were going to let him walk anyway, and just getting anything back in that scenario is kind of a win for the team. And they didn't really get that much back necessarily. They got Robin Lopez, who is a pretty affordable center who signed on for the next 3 years. He's known for his defense more than his offense, but he's going to help the team win. He'll be I can't imagine that he won't be starting when the season starts. They got Jerian Grant, who they were really, really high on last year. He was the 19th pick in last year's draft. Notre Dame guy, I believe, and he kind of struggled last year with the Knicks. It wasn't really a good fit for him. And then they got Jose Calderon, who is just salary filler. I mean, he might get bought out, he might get traded, but he shouldn't be looked at as contributing in any way to the team next year.
So, Stephen, before we let you go, what do you think is next? Whether it's looking at trade options, whether it's looking towards free agency where they have a little cap space, what do the Bulls have to work with, and what do they need to fill, and maybe who are some people you're looking at this summer?
You know, the Bulls have always prized this aspect of flexibility. I think they're still doing that. I think they don't even know yet which direction they're going to go. And my prediction is that Jimmy Butler is going to continue to be on the market and just like kind of dangling him out there, hoping that they're going to get some ridiculous package for him. As far as free agency, the team has around $24 million to spend. I'm sure they're going to go after these big ticket free agents, but if you look at the history of the franchise, they have not had much success in that regard. So what I would imagine they do is sign 2 or 3 kind of mid-tier veterans. They also have Etuan Moore, who's a free agent. I think I talked about him last time I came on your guys' show, but I love Etuan Moore, and I really, really hope they try to re-sign him. So, I mean, just small moves, I think, is what we can expect.
He's Stephen Noah, theathletic.com. Great stuff covering the Bulls. You can follow him on Twitter at Hungarian Jordan. Thanks, Stephen. Always appreciate your time, man.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, it's interesting times. Like, I didn't think this offseason would be this interesting for the Bulls. I thought they'd kind of do the status quo. This would be a weird year where you have Rose and Butler, see if it works. You let Rose go. Noah and Gasol will be gone. And it's kind of that purgatory year. I'll give them credit. They saw a problem. They saw the problem we all saw. I think they saw it too late and should have traded Pau Gasol during the season for whatever they could have. I think they might have even
seen it with Pau Gasol, but they were delusional.
Well, they wanted to make the playoffs and make money. Right. And they wanted to save face about Fred Hoiberg that, we just had injuries, right? We still made the playoffs. We're still a playoff team. I think they wanted to save face that way, but they should have saw what we saw, and I think they did. They just were stubborn and wanted to prove that they could make the playoffs, and they should have traded Powell for anything they could have gotten, any future asset. They didn't, and now they're not going to get anything for him. But at least they saw that we have to do something now, and we need to start this process now. So I'll give them credit for that. It's just now you're in purgatory still, and you got to find a way out of it.
You have 3
I got
proposals
3 proposals that we could do this off season that the Bulls could do, whether through trade, free agency, and I got some names for you.
Casey Johnson tweeted this out real quick. Derrick Rose said at his press conference, on the Knicks, he says, quote, "I feel like they're going to appreciate me a little bit more," end quote.
One thing I will not miss about Derrick Rose is his media availability.
Whether he's talking about the front office or the fans or the organization in general, that is that toxic B.J. Armstrong crap getting into his brain about, well, they're no good. They don't care about you. When the Bulls have actually been one of the most compassionate front offices to their former players.
It's tough because this kid grew up, and in 2011, 2012, he was the most beloved sports figure in Chicago in a city that had a champion in the Blackhawks, right? And he was the most beloved guy. And then people turned on him because he wasn't on the court. He was hurt. But he made his own...
I think people turned on him because he's an insufferable baby.
Well, he just said the dumbest things.
Yeah.
Said the dumbest things. And I'm not going to miss that.
No.
I'm not going to miss that. I don't think Derrick's a bad person. I just think he doesn't know what to say, and I think he's got bad people around him. I think he's got people giving him bad advice around him.
He's in a bubble. He's in a bubble. It's a nice, safe, happy place.
And it's got him to where he's gotten.
Yeah.
But it's hurt him the last couple of years. All right, I got those 3 proposals for the Bulls offseason coming up next.
Is Kevin Durant one of them?
We'll see.
We'll see. That's the tease. It's probably not. Tay and J Show.
I'm Elwood Blues, here to tell you about the 9th Annual Blues, Brews, and BBQ Festival, June 24th and 25 in Champaign, Illinois. This year's fest features the hottest names in blues, roots, and music today. Reverend Horton Heat, the Fabulous Thunderbirds with Kim Wilson, Howard and the White Boys, and many more. Outstanding. Admission is absolutely free. That's the 2016 Blues, Brews, and BBQ Festival, June 24 and 25, downtown Champaign. For more information, click on bluesbrewsandbbqfest.com.
Hey, Cardinal fans, July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th is loaded with great giveaways. Friday, July 1st, the 1926 Replica World Series Championship ring presented by Edward Jones. After the game, stay in your seat for a Cooper Tires Fireworks Night. July 2nd, the adult replica Matt Carpenter batting practice jersey presented by Ford. Sunday, the Coca-Cola Cardinals Cooler Backpack. And on the 4th of July, it's the Cardinals Pillbox Baseball Cap presented by Brown & Crouppen. Tickets available at cardinals.com/promotions.
VersaBar, a world leader in the development of heavy lifting solutions, is a proud sponsor of the Mike Ditka Show. VersaBar is also a proud supporter of the University of Illinois and the College of Civil and Environmental Engineering, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Unity Rockets. To learn more about VersaBar, just go to www.vbar.com. That's www.vbar.com. VersaBar, the power of engineering delivered.
Guidance, trust, protection, service. It's the mantra of GTPS Insurance, finding the perfect solution for you, guiding you through the options, helping you through a claim, and adapting to your evolving needs. Since 1997, GTPS Insurance has provided coverage for your car, your home, your business, and your life. As an independent broker, GTPS Insurance Agency will shop around until they find the right coverage at the best price. Contact a GTPS Insurance agent today at 359-9000 or visit online at gtpsinsurance.com.
Hi, I'm Gary Knight from Carmack Honda in Danville. Just 40 years ago, Carmack Honda delivered our first 1976 Honda Accord and has been recognized as an award-winning family sedan ever since. Safety, dependability, and fuel efficiency make people love their Hondas, and Cub fans love their Cubbies, and only a way Cub fans can believe. So when you're shopping for a new Honda, believe in Carmack Honda to get you the very best price, service, and selection. Check us out today at CarmackHonda.com.
Hi, it's Stevie J. Start your day with me along with Diane Ducey, weekday mornings 7 to 9, here on ESPN Radio 93.5.
Stop by Legends Golf Course in Champaign. It's the elite 9-hole golf course in town. Come out, work on your short game. Hit up the range as well. You can work on those long shots. They got carts available. The remodeled clubhouse is fantastic, Carp. We were just out there.
Yeah.
Also, golf lessons available for all ages. Leagues available for adults and juniors. Season range and course passes available. It's Legends Golf Course, located off Staley Road in Champaign.
It is the Tay and J Show with Paramore. That's what she said. Is that the name of the
That's
song?
what you get.
That's what you get.
It's a nice little pop rocky tune.
It is. No, Paramore. They got the lady vocalist, right?
She's really good.
Yeah, she's good. And one more thing about Brexit.
Are we doing Brexit tidbits throughout
I think
the
just
show?
Brexit tidbits throughout the show. So I'm watching BBC World News last night.
Brexit bits.
It's part of my Comcast Xfinity package. And as I'm watching it, I just can't help but say every passing village or town that comes up. I mean, they aren't villages. They're cities.
Tottenham.
Yeah, right. But everything, I used to think it was shire. So like Hertfordshire.
Yeah.
It's Hertfordshire.
Yeah.
Winchestershire. Like just like there's a little shire.
Edinburgh.
Ending in, you just can't get this British accent and you can't quite figure out if you're Liverpudlian or if you're quite a Cockney accent, it's a little more harsh. I don't know. But I was having fun just literally reading the names aloud as they came on TV.
Because a lot of times we think of, Britain kind of uptight. Like that's kind of what we always think about.
Yeah, but their
British
newscasters are like, okay, so it looks like they're leaving the opinion.
Like you find out they have hicks just like we have hicks.
Right. Oh, dude.
Like they have elitists just like we have elitists. Like they have slang just like it's phenomenal.
If salt of the earth British people got in a fight with salt of the earth Americans, they would slaughter the salt of the earth Americans. I am not going to like a minor league soccer game over in England in Sheffield? Is that a rough? I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't go. I'd get eaten alive over there.
We'll have Brexit and British bits throughout the show.
Yeah, we'll do one each segment.
Show. I had some thinking out loud ideas for the Bulls. So 3 different off-season proposals. You can go either way, and I'm interested what you think. Some of them may be stupid. Number 1, kind of a realistic thing. The Phoenix Suns drafted another Kentucky point guard last night, Tyler Ulis. They got him in the second round. They already have Brandon Knight, a Kentucky point guard, Eric Bledsoe, a Kentucky point guard, and also Devin Booker, who's really good, a shooting guard. They're probably going to need to trade one of those point guards. The Bulls need a point guard. And they just drafted 2 big men, Dragon Bender, phenomenal name.
I love that name.
And Marquise Chris. And these guys aren't ready to play. They need a future asset probably for one of these point guards, but they don't have a lot of bargaining power because these guys probably aren't going to be very happy.
Right.
So what if you dangled the expiring contract, I believe, of Taj Gibson and a protected first-round pick, so maybe top 10 protected, for Eric Bledsoe or Brandon Knight? I think that would fill a huge need.
I think that'd be great, yeah.
And then maybe you can pursue Harrison Barnes as well.
I think that'd be great. I think it's great. It's a great idea.
So you'd fill a point guard and the 4, and that'd be an interesting team. I don't think it's a contender.
No,
so
but
I don't know if, and you'd have to spend a lot of money on a guy like Harrison Barnes.
I think it's worth taking a look at, and then getting a young point guard in there, even if they don't happen to pan out, just getting something in there, which they will.
And
will.
That'd be a legit number 2 scorer to go along with a Jimmy Butler.
Okay, I like it.
Number 2, after Powell and Noah become free agents, you got all that money. Pursue Mike Conley really hard.
I like it. Veteran point guard.
Veteran point guard on Memphis, really good.
Think you
Still
could get
young.
And you see, the funny thing is, I was about to say, as far as salary is concerned, that's not really an issue anymore.
Well, I mean, he's going to make a lot of money.
He's going to make a lot of money.
All these free agents are going to make. That's the thing about Jimmy Butler's contract.
It's a deal.
It's going to be a heck of a deal. Robin Lopez's deal, he probably would make a third more on his deal if he were a free agent right now. So, I mean, the contracts are going way, way up.
I really like the Mike Conley thing. And
15 points per game last year, 6 assists on a winning team. He's had a couple injury issues, but he's a legit starting good point guard in the NBA.
Is he close to 30?
Conley? Well, he came out when he was 19. He's 28 years old.
Okay.
So you probably give him like a 4 year.
He just played 1 year in college, right? Him and Odin.
Yeah. Okay. This is kind of a hope it works out one. Put Jimmy Butler on the market. Sacramento's kind of a mess up there.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, and I love it.
Jimmy in a couple pieces because you got to give up a little more probably for DeMarcus Cousins.
Do it. I want DeMarcus Cousins on the Bulls.
He
I think it'd be
scares
so
me.
much fun.
I would be nervous about him because he's a head case.
Yeah, but he's such a good player.
He's so good. And I understand the league is guard-driven. He's one of the few post guys that you can really build around.
Well, you know me. I like the anti-hero.
Well, yeah, and you might have some issues. He's probably not that good of a teammate.
If I had to rank those, I'd go 1, 2, 3 in the order that you read them. As far as realistic opportunities and also something that would make sense for this team.
What would excite you the most?
Well, obviously number 3 would excite me the most, but I think number 1's the most doable and would also make sense for these parallel tracks of we're retooling.
Yeah.
But we could still kind of compete in the East this year, get a 6th seed, something like that.
We'll talk about the NBA from a more national perspective. Michael Weisenberg, NBADraft.net, coming up next.
Tay and J Show.
Legends Golf Course and Driving Range in Southwest Champaign offers something for golfers of all levels. The 9-hole executive course is great for anyone seeking a quick round of golf at an affordable price. Check out league nights, schedule a private outing, or your company's next team building event. Junior players can learn the game through camps while honing in on their skills in a fun environment. Relax after a round in the newly renovated clubhouse while catching up on golf tournaments or baseball on one of their 6 televisions. Legends Golf Course and Driving Range. Visit them at legendsofchampaign.com.
Relay for Life supporting the American Cancer Society takes place from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Saturday, July 30th at Esso Park. Support from First Federal, Carl, Meyer, and Busey, along with Martin Hood Freezy and Associates, make events like the Cancer Survivor Dinner on Tuesday, June 28th possible. You're up for an awesome time with teams raising money now for the Relay for Life event, including 5 bands that will perform at Hessel Park on July 30th as we bring on hope to find a cure. Google or see Facebook for details. Saturday, July 30th at Esso Park.
This 4th of July, head out to Lake of the Woods in Mahomet for Freedom Fest 2016. Spend the day enjoying the preserve. Rent a pedal boat and tour the lake. Go to the museum at the Grand Prairie. Play golf. Tour the Botanical Garden. Have a cookout. Climb the tower or go fishing. Freedom Fest 2016 will have music and motion starting at 3 p.m. and at 9 p.m. we will light up the lake with fireworks. Pay only $2 at the gate. Kids 5 and under are free. And join us for Freedom Fest 2016 on July 4th at Lake of the Woods in Mahomet.
It's time for your out and about with Visit Champaign County. Terry joining me. Terry, lots of festivals this weekend in Champaign County, right?
Absolutely. The Blues, Brews, and Barbecue Festival returns to downtown Champaign tonight. It is now in its 9th year, and it brings renowned blues artists like the Reverend Reverend Horton Heat and the Fabulous Thunderbirds to the stage over 2 days, and you can take in as much barbecue and beer as you can.
And of course, they have a great kids area for the little ones too. Tolono Fun Day, another festival happening this weekend, getting started tonight, correct?
That's right. They have a Twilight 5K tonight as well as a movie in the park, and tomorrow you can enjoy a parade, live music, games, and of course fireworks to end this fun and family-friendly event.
All right, if you want to see Oliver on stage, that's another option for you this weekend.
This is the last weekend for CUTC's production of Oliver at Parkland Theater. This is a classic musical take on Oliver Twist with a cast of 42 different local students, and shows are happening all weekend.
All right, sounds good. For details on these 3 events or anything else happening this weekend, Terry, where can they go?
Visit ChampaignCounty.org.
Live from the Habib BPC studios, this is WSJK Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
This Mettler Fitness Tip is brought to you by the Mettler Center, located at Windsor and Duncan in Champaign.
Learn delicious ways to cook healthy foods. Gradually cut down on fat, sugar, and salt in your usual recipes, and watch how your taste buds adapt to appreciate the natural taste of foods. Use citrus juices, herbs, spices, oils, and vinegars to add amazing new zest to your food.
Live from New York, The Fox Report.
I'm Chris Foster. The vote in Great Britain to leave the European Union is shaking up financial markets.
On Wall Street, stocks plunging with the Dow dropping 611 points. Now, this is the 8th largest point drop for the Dow in history. The pound trading as low as $1.32, which is the lowest level against the dollar since 1985. Gold and bond prices rising sharply as investors sought safety. Hillary Barsky, Fox News.
The British Prime Minister David Cameron says he'll step down this fall and let new leadership oversee the transition out of the European Union. President Obama called him.
We agreed that our economic and financial teams will remain in close contact as we stay focused on ensuring economic growth and financial stability.
Speaking in Scotland.
It's an amazing day, very historic day.
Donald Trump says the British people have taken back their independence. He's comparing the referendum to our presidential election. A Hillary Clinton spokeswoman says in a statement the economic turmoil brought about by the vote points to the need for a steady leader. A super fast-moving wildfire that broke out in central California is a deadly one.
Kern County fire officials now say, as they assess the damage, that 2 people have been killed in the Erskine fire. It broke out Thursday afternoon and tore through residential communities near Lake Isabella. The fire grew shockingly fast, taking out about 100 structures, 80 of them homes.
The drought conditions are making things very unusually unpredictable.
Kern County Fire Captain Michael Nicholas says for a while they only had about 350 firefighters on the fire, but many more personnel have been arriving. In less than 24 hours, the fire has grown to 19,000 acres. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
In West Virginia,
14 individuals have lost their lives in the storm.
Governor Earl Ray Tomblin says more than 100 homes and businesses have flooded. You're on the Fox Report. Fair and balanced.
Life can be unpredictable. That's why you should take control of your family's future now with an estate plan bundle from LegalZoom. Not sure whether you need a last will or a living trust? LegalZoom's network of independent attorneys in 48 states can help you decide which one's right for you without billing by the hour, since LegalZoom isn't a law firm. Plus, updating your estate plan as your family and assets grow couldn't be easier. Enjoy your life. Use LegalZoom for the legal stuff. LegalZoom. Legal help is here.
Take a test mow today on the John Deere Z535M Z-Track zero-turn mower with the re-engineered Excel Deep mower deck to mow faster, better. Because it's not how fast you mow, it's how well you mow fast. Visit your local John Deere dealer today and see why nothing runs like a deer.
Visit any one of AHW's 12 convenient locations or ahwllc.com. For more information, visit myjohndeeredealer.com.
President Obama in a video announcing the designation of a new national monument in New York City at the site of riots at the Stonewall Inn in 1969 demanding gay rights.
Stonewall will be our first national monument to tell the story of the struggle for LGBT rights. I believe our national park should reflect the full story of our country, the richness and diversity and uniquely American spirit that has always defined us, that we are stronger together, that out of many, we are one.
The monument covers the bar, a small park, and the streets around them. House Republicans are laying out plans for a new tax code.
House Speaker Paul Ryan describes the tax proposal as simpler, flatter, and fairer, lowering tax rates across the board and a top tax bracket of just 33% instead of the current near 40% rate.
More than that, we want America to be the best place in the world to do business.
The proposal won't face a vote this year and isn't drafted legislation. Instead, like other policy proposals from House Republicans, it serves as a template they say can be implemented with the help of a Republican Congress and president. In Washington, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Another Navy officer is punished for the capture of American sailors.
The commander in charge of the sailors taken captive by Iran in January has been relieved of his duties. Captain Kyle Morris was fired due to a loss of confidence in his ability to command, according to the Navy. Fox News was first to report that Captain Moses would be relieved. Moses is the highest-ranking officer to face discipline over the capture of 10 sailors by Iran on January 12 in the Persian Gulf near Farsi Island. Iran released the sailors after 16 hours in captivity.
That's Fox's Lucas Tomlinson at the Pentagon. Plans for a Star Wars museum on the Chicago lakefront is killed by the movie's creator, George Lucas. He says he's moving it to California over legal opposition to the site. Again, our top story on Wall Street, the Dow down 610 in reaction to the British vote to leave the EU. Chris Foster, Fox News Radio.
Here's your ESPN Radio 3-day forecast brought to you by Chief Bauer. Need a cooling expert this summer? Call Chief Bauer Service Experts at 866-EXPERTS or visit them online at chiefbauer.com. It's not partly cloudy, a low of 66, warm and sunny tomorrow. High 91, a low of 73. Thunderstorms come in play Sunday, high 88, a low of 67. Right now, mostly sunny, 84 degrees in Champaign-Urbana.
It is the Tay and J Show. Mike Carpenter in for Lante down in Nashville this weekend. Not on assignment. He just wanted to go down there.
And in the next couple weekends, the Cardinals host the Brewers and the Pirates. It's a holiday weekend full of great giveaways, including replica 1926 ring, Matt Carpenter batting practice jersey.
No.
Somebody give me one of those. Cooler backpack and a pillbox baseball cap. Get your tickets now at cardinals.com/promotions.
And then on Sunday, I think they're giving away Hazel Baker jerseys, and he'll be back just in time.
Just for Colton Wong.
Yep.
Colton Wong. Hey, the Cubbies struggling a little bit.
I know.
4 in a row. They're terrible again.
Well, it's not an immediate cause for concern. You can have these losing streaks. And, I mean, the Yankees, the 98.
Not these Cubs, man.
Well, the 98 Yankees that set the wins record, they got swept in their opening series.
Yeah.
The thing is, that's the opening series. What you're seeing, though, this isn't too they could easily be 2-2 in these last 4 games.
Right.
You look at the first 2 games against the Cardinals, you just got to get a hit in the bottom of the ninth.
Right.
And even last night, they had an opportunity to win that late. So right now, those hits that were all going for them in April and May are not, and things will balance out. They're still the best team.
23 games over 500.
Yes.
I think you're fine.
But, yeah, the key is just get healthy. That's really it. But in the meantime, you really shouldn't be losing the Marlins that much.
Marlins are pretty good, though.
They aren't bad, and good. You know what? Good for Don Mattingly.
Think about it. They had Giancarlo Stanton having a terrible year, and D. Gordon suspended, and they've been this good. They're in one of the wild card spots right now. Michael Weisenberg, NBADraft.net, was kind enough to join us yesterday to preview the NBA draft. He's back, joining us now on the Jupiter's The Crossing phone line to recap the NBA draft. Did you have fun last night, Michael?
Oh, I had a great time, guys. I hope you did as well if you watched the draft. But yeah, it was certainly just edge of your seat kind of madness going on there. There were a lot of deals that went down, a lot of picks that were pretty surprising, and it was one of the more kind of out there NBA drafts we've had in quite a while.
And a lot of non-Americans taken. This is a global sport, but but were these guys drafted because the draft was weak in talent and people just wanted to stash, draft and stash is kind of the term today, or is it because the Europeans were more talented than the Americans?
Well, again, the jury's kind of out on that one. I would say it does seem like it's looking like it's going to be a weaker draft, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of these guys are actually going to come over pretty soon, at least the ones that were drafted in the top half or part of the draft. And even some of the ones that were picked in the second round, they should be on a court fairly soon. And, just a lot of guys that were kind of projected to be that top half of the draft were passed over in favor of some players who have some intriguing upside and a lot of young talent taken from Europe this year. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out.
We talked to you yesterday about Ben Simmons and Brandon Ingram. It was those top two, and then there was a drop-off. The Celtics had number 3, and it seemed like they really wanted to trade that thing and just couldn't find a taker. And they take Jaylen Brown out of Cal. What do you make of that pick?
It was surprising in that everybody kind of assumed that there would be a trade there for Chris Dunn. Thinking that, the 76ers had some nice pieces to offer and, that Boston might be looking to kind of deal for that. As they are a playoff team and they do look like they're on the upswing. With Jaylen Brown, he was a guy that going into college, a lot of people were incredibly high on. And, he has prototypical size for a small forward. He's really strong at a very young age. He's a smart kid. His shot obviously needs some work, and, he can work on his ball skills. He turns it over quite a bit. But there's a lot to work with there. And if there was one thing they could probably use, it was more help on the wing. They're still, not the greatest shooting team either. But if you're getting Chris Dunn or whoever they probably would have traded for Chris Dunn, I'm not sure that necessarily would have helped spread the floor either. So they're just kind of looking at Brown's upside and seeing, that he could be a guy that maybe can defend the perimeter fairly well in time and, just give them some depth on the wing.
Michael Beisenberg from NBADraft.net. You can follow him on Twitter at NBADraftMikeyV. And then back to Chris Dunn, who you were mentioning there. Out of these three guys, who do you think is the best fit for their team? Chris Dunn of the T-Wolves, Buddy Hield to the Pelicans, or Jamal Murray to the Nuggets?
Well, to me, Jamal Murray is the best out of those three guys. I just think there's something about him. But they already have Avery Bradley, who is a better defender than Jamal Murray. They had a lot of guys at the guard position. So I would say that probably I feel like Jamal Murray or Buddy Hield might have been a better option for them than a Chris Dunn, since, it seems like a point guard is kind of something where they have Isaiah Thomas, they have Marcus Smart, they have and Avery Bradley who can defend either one or two position. So they have some guys going there. So I feel like adding shooting might have been possibly a better option. Dunn is from Connecticut and kind of close to that New England area, so that would be kind of an interesting choice there as well. But I think with Jaylen Brown, it's a lot of people weren't impressed with the way he ended his college career, but I still feel like it's going to be a pretty not necessarily the worst selection. So it was surprising, but I think it could play out pretty well for them.
Who'd you like most of the fits in that top 10 besides the top two picks?
I think Jamal Murray to the Nuggets. I got to see he and Emmanuel Mudiay go up against each other in the 2014 Hoop Summit. They were on the same team, but they would play against each other in practice. And I think that they could fit pretty well together, and they're going to be interesting. They did lose that game, but I think the rest of the talent on the team wasn't necessarily at those two guys' level. And I'm very interested to see what the Nuggets are doing. I know it's a rebuilding thing there, but I really think that Jamal could do a pretty nice job on Denver, and I like the way that they're rebuilding their team.
What was the biggest reach of the draft? Which one made you go, nah?
There were some that definitely, my jaw dropped a little bit. I felt that, it wasn't necessarily a reach, but, Georgios Papagiannis was kind of a guy who was a bit surprising. I know probably not a lot of people had heard of Georgios either. He had been playing in the Greek Pro League since he was 14. So he has been a guy who's been on the scene for a while, but he didn't necessarily have the best summer. He played U19, or I believe, it was the U18 European Championships, and he got thoroughly outplayed when they played Spain, and he went up against a guy named Yankuba Sima who plays for St. John's. And he had been a guy that had kind of seemed to people had kind of dipped on as far as his overall upside. But, he's a huge guy. He's 7'2". He's 275 pounds or so. And I hear 7'6" wingspan. So Vlade Divac is taking a flyer on him, but man, he went a lot higher than people really expected him to go.
What a mess Sacramento is. That thing's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and then it's Sacramento. So you're saying that's the Sacramento pit.
Yeah.
And I'm sure DeMarcus Cousins is not necessarily loving that one. Another guy I felt went a bit higher than I expected was Thon Maker, who, I probably had going about 10, 15 picks lower than that. He's a guy I got to see quite a bit over the years.
Great kid.
When I lived in Canada. Oh, he's a fantastic kid. That's the one thing I will say. He's a really great, well-spoken kid, and as engaging when you meet him in person as he comes across in an interview. But he has some work. He's just always going to be on the thin side. His legs are I compare him to Keon Clark with those toothpick legs. And he has worked on his game. I feel like the physicality of the NBA is going to be a pretty rough adjustment for him. I think playing in high school this past year, I was a little surprised he chose to go that route. I would have loved to have seen what he would have done had he gone to college. And in the 2015 Hoop Summit, if you were to tell me that Skal Labissiere was going to go 28 and Thon Maker was going to go 10, I don't know who would have really believed you.
Yeah.
Because Skal definitely seemed to get the better of that matchup. But again, it's all about how you develop. And I heard that Thon had a fantastic workout in Milwaukee. I heard he did go up against another player. And, everybody had seemed to think he was just going to do 1-on-0 workouts, and heard he shot really well. So they must have really saw something they liked in him. And he obviously has some potential, some ball skills, and some shooting ability. But again, that was a surprise for me that he ended up going number 10 in the draft.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the kid, but he was really, really engaging on the Verticals draft coverage. Michael Weisenberg, NBADraft.net. You can follow him on Twitter at NBA Draft Mikey V.
So then going the other side here, who do you think would have been the best value of the draft, specifically the first round? And was there anybody in that top 15 picks that you think will make an immediate impact or the biggest impact here this first year?
I think that Denzel Valentine seems like a guy who's ready to step in and at least do a little bit, play a rotation role for a team. He can do so many different things. And another guy, I think Buddy Hield is going to be a guy who steps in right away too for New Orleans, and a guy who can spread the floor, who can score, who's really good at playing a fast-paced game. He got tons of points in transition. And, just a guy who's really ready to go. And then another guy, obviously, Chris Dunn.
Yeah.
I don't know what Minnesota's going to do with Ricky Rubio, but I can only imagine that Chris Dunn is going to fit in superbly well with the athletes that they have now. And they're probably going to be able to run some guys off of the court. Obviously, shooting is still going to be an issue there. But, he plays the defense that Tom Thibodeau is going to love. And he is just a very nice athlete to go along with Andrew Wiggins, Zach LaVine, and, of course, Karl Anthony Towns, who people think could be one of the better prospects in the NBA right now.
From a macro level, Michael, do we have any trends or anything that's told us anything about how the NBA scouts? Because you're mentioning Labissiere, Chick Diallo, Diamond Stone, Deontay Davis. They all kind of slid these raw big men, and it just seems like a bad time for big men. But was there any other big trend, or what do you think of that, and any other big trend that you saw from this draft?
I don't know if there's as much a trend. I guess maybe some of the shooters did go a bit higher. But again, it was hard to call too many guys in this draft shooters. And the two best shooters seemed to be Buddy Hield and Jamal Murray. And they both went 6 and 7. So it wasn't like they went higher than some guys in the top 5 or higher than anybody thought they were going to go. You have a guy like Taurean Prince, who's a 3-and-D guy. He ends up going really high. I thought he played really well during the Pan Am games last summer. And to me, he was the best college player on that USA team. And he ended up going even in front of Denzel Valentine, who is a guy who I believe has some injury concern as well. I heard possible knee issues, but he's a guy who's well worth it since, he has this all-around game. He has that ability. And in this draft, it's worthwhile to take a guy who you think can help you out for a while, as opposed to, maybe gambling on one of these other guys. A lot of these guys just didn't look like they were ready. And, we've seen these one-and-done players eventually develop, but, it's a total crapshoot. You have no idea who's going to end up being the one that, makes you look great later in the first round, as opposed to the one who ends up making you look ridiculous for taking them in the lottery. Yeah. So there were a lot of those kind of power forwards and centers, including some of the guys that you listed. I never thought that it didn't seem like Diamond Stone was necessarily going to go too high. I had heard Sheck Diallo had a first-round promise, but he, ends up going in the late second round. And I was very surprised that Deontay Davis slipped, but, it happened, and it's just Skal Labissière slipping too. I was really surprised about that, but, these guys didn't necessarily have the most stellar season. Right. They still have a lot to work on.
Michael Weisenberg, before I let you go, quick answer. The first player from this draft to be an all-star is?
Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons?
Yeah.
That much better than everybody?
That's who I believe.
Okay.
That's who I believe.
All right. Yeah. Michael Weisenberg, NBADraft.net. We always appreciate you joining us throughout this kind of draft season, even in the middle of college season, kind of update us on this. Follow him on Twitter at NBA Draft, Mikey V. Always appreciate it, Michael.
Y'all, great having me on. Thank you guys so much.
All right. Good stuff from Michael Weisenberg, NBADraft.net. Hopefully next year, Carb, we bring him on talking about Malcolm Hill.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And can he slide, into the early second round or something
and
like
Mike Thorne, and will he be the next DeMarcus Cousins?
I don't think
conversations like that.
I don't
Maverick
think
Morgan, can he be the next skilled big man?
There you go.
What's fun? Mav is going to have a pro career.
Oh, he'll play. If he wants to play, he can play overseas.
With the skill set he has, he'll be fine in Europe for a long time.
If you want to weigh in, you can. You can call us on the Jupiter's The Crossing phone line or text the Cheap Hour text line at 217-359-2255. That's 359-2255. We have a next question coming up, but later this hour we have another segment.
Yeah.
We told the interns, let's do a Brexit segment.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be breaking down how this is going to impact the world, how it's going to impact the U.S.
Though, thanks to Cliff and a text that we got in, Cliff Urbana, of course, fan of the show, good dude. He sent a link.
Cliff Urbana, that's what he's got on his business card. Cliff Urbana, fan of the show.
He just dropped the last
good
name.
Dude. Hashtag good dude.
Yeah, and he sent a link, and I'm going to try to get some of the more interesting nuggets from this article about how this will actually affect sports, namely the English Premier League, and how certain guys won't be able to be signed by. I mean, there are ramifications even into the world of sports.
I can't imagine. You wake up to a new world in Great Britain this morning. But we told them, find something fun to do with Great Britain.
So we're bringing back Know Your Enemy because we're bringing back Know Your Enemy because first off, now that they're independent, they can go to war with anybody, and they probably are still a little bit pissed off about the whole American Revolutionary thing.
It's only been 250 years.
Well, that's if you think about it, what on the dot is it 250?
No, because it's
240.
It's 2026, right?
Yeah, 2026. Man, that's gonna be a fun 4th of July.
That's not a sequicentennial. What would that be?
Well, let's see, 250. What is a millennium? Is 1,000 years, right?
Right.
So is it like a quadennial?
I don't know. We'd have to look up that, but we're going to be using it a lot
1/4 of a
10
millennium.
Years.
Yeah,
10 years from that big party,
dude.
Dude.
And by the way, at the end of the show, we will play the Bill Pullman speech from Independence Day to get you all pumped up for the weekend.
Okay.
Can we end the show with that?
I like this.
And then I'll pull up as many Randy Quaid clips from the original Independence Day, because the sequel is out today, but there's no Randy Quaid and no Will Smith.
We're doing a Know Your Enemy, Me versus You. Mm-hmm. Great Britain later on.
Yeah, so it's basically Austin is looking up British luminaries, as you would say, and we're going to guess who they are based on his description.
Do we have like sports knowledge involved in this too?
I think it's a grab bag of sports and entertainment figures.
Okay, I'm cool with this.
And I'm trying to get a nod from them, but they're just too busy talking, preparing their Pod Prod squad. Episode number 3 coming out tonight around 7 o'clock.
If you want to weigh in, 359-2255, you can call us on the Jupiter's Crossing phone line or text the Cheap Hour text line.
Watch this. During the break, they won't even come in and say hi.
No,
they're cool in their little room. Tay and J Show.
Check out the new Honda BMW of Champaign, formerly Twin City Honda BMW, and still located in Savoy. These guys are crazy for used vehicles. Truckloads of pre-owned vehicles, 25 to 50% off the price of a similar new model. And not just Hondas and BMWs, cars, pickup trucks, and SUVs of all makes. Financing options on used cars as low as 1.9%. Just drive by Honda BMW of Champaign and you'll see from the street that this is a new dealership. Honda BMW of Champaign, online at drivechampaign.com.
Hi, I'm Damon Hackelman, owner of CleanRite in Champaign. If you're looking for a trusted restoration service company, just look for the guys in the blue trucks. At CleanRite, we understand that life happens, and we're ready to help. Our experienced service technicians will provide you with not only a quick response, but also honest answers and advice. For water, fire, smoke, or mold restoration, we're there when you need us. Call CleanRite today at 351-4930. That's 351-4930. Or just Google CleanRite Champaign.
Have you noticed a change in the air? The days are getting longer and soon we'll be in full club car season. But don't just drive a club car. Check out all the custom accessories at Battery Specialist Plus Golf Cars in Champaign. Everything you need to make a club car statement or build the club car of your dreams just the way you want it. The journey starts at bspgc.com. Battery Specialist Plus Golf Cars, 133 Kenyon Road just off I-74. Get on the road with a custom club car. bspgc.com.
We know how much you love your car. Protect your ride with AutoGuard from Pekin Insurance and your local independent agency. AutoGuard picks up where other policies fall short, offering trip interruption coverage, key replacement, tire protection, accidental airbag deployment coverage, and more. All for just $20 per year per vehicle. Call your local Pekin Insurance agent or visit www.pekininsurance.com to put their beyond the expected services to work for you with AutoGuard.
Does your life feel like a never-ending to-do list? This is Country Financial Representative Brett Kroenke.
And I'm Trent Swift. We understand the never-ending balancing act, so planning for your retirement, something that could be 10, 20, or 30 years in the future, is easy to put off.
At Country Financial, we can help you focus on your individual situation to create a solid retirement plan for your future.
So what are you waiting for? Call Brett Kroenke or Trent Swift.
Let's check your retirement plan off your to-do list.
Investment management, retirement, trust, and planning services are provided by Country Trust Bank. Investments are not FDIC insured, not bank guaranteed, and may lose value.
When you're heading home, Tay and Jay are on your way talking sports. Weekday afternoons 3 to 6 here on ESPN Radio 93.5.
It's time for the update with the 14th overall pick in the 2016 NBA Draft. The Chicago Bulls select Denzel Valentine, Michigan State. The Bulls got rid of a Rose on Wednesday. They got a Valentine last night to make up for it. Michigan State senior was the third senior taken in the lottery last night, along with Chris Dunn and Buddy Hield. With Valentine, it's all about versatility. Last year he averaged 19 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists, and was the do-it-all option and leader for the best team in the Big Ten. His performance netted him the Big Ten Player of the Year and Associated Press Player of the Year awards. Well, he's not the most dominant on defense. You should provide the Bulls with a talented wing player who can make an NBA impact. In the second round, the Bulls took a chance on German forward Paul Zipser. ESPN draft insider Chad Ford ranked him as the 12th best international prospect, and considering there were 16 selected in the first round alone, the most since 2002, Zipser could be a steal at 48. MLB, the Cardinals are in Seattle for the continuation of their 9-game road trip that ends in Kansas City next week. It's a good day for Night Owls, but maybe not for the Cardinals. They get underway tonight at 9:10 p.m. It's Carlos Martinez against the newly acquired Wade LeBlanc. The 31-year-old LeBlanc got from Toronto yesterday. Pitched in Japan last year and only in the minors this year. If anything, tonight will just be an interesting game to watch. After winning 3 of 4 in Boston, the White Sox continue their East Coast battles at home against the Blue Jays. Tonight, Carlos Rodon toes rubber against Aaron Sanchez. Sox have lost 8 of Rodon's last 9 starts, and he holds a 2-6 record with a 4.16 ERA on the season. 23-year-old Sanchez has been pretty good for the Jays, posting a 7-1 record with a 3.35 ERA. The Cubs, they're on their longest losing streak of the season, 4 in a row. Whether you want to blame it on injuries or the youth, one thing's for sure. Don't panic. They still hold the best record in the bigs. Kyle Hendricks, he battles Tom Kohler in Miami tonight to take things back on track. We'll get things back on track. 430 Sports Center.
Should I do this live read in the style of Anthony Kiedis? No,
try it.
I don't know. It'd be tricky.
When they were crossing Dodge Ram.
Win with Champagne Crossing Dodge Jeep and Ram.
Okay, that's enough.
Yeah, that was terrible. Good God. But anyway,
They got a
Champagne
new
Chrysler
album coming out, right?
It's out. Yeah, Danger Mouse produced it. They always did it with Rick Rubin, the long-haired fella.
Yeah.
You can win with Champagne Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram on Moreland Boulevard with ESPN 93.5 and Sunny 95.3. Just stop into Champagne Chrysler today. Drop your name in the box to win tickets to see the Cardinals take on the Dodgers July 24th with Chrysler, Champagne Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. That's Moreland Boulevard and ESPN 93.5 and Sunny 95.3.
The interns are going to do some kind of British segment. We're going to do a Know Your Enemy. Carp and I will do some British trivia, I guess.
Are we going to do that now?
No, we're going to do the next segment.
Okay.
So got that coming forward.
I'm pretty pumped for it. And I guess this truly is a grab bag. It's not just people.
Good.
It is just any noun, any British noun is in play.
Do you have any British friends? Have you ever had a British friend?
I don't.
I had a couple Brits in my fraternity.
The girlfriend actually lived in London for a whole semester.
Nice.
So she was the one that corrected me. I always thought it was Hertfordshire.
Yeah.
Or Chestershire. But it's
Chestershire.
Chestershire.
Yeah. I had a couple guys in my fraternity that were British, and one of them I got to know really well. His name was Alex Smith, and he
not to be confused, of course.
He loved Terrell Owens. He loved Terrell Owens. Like he loved soccer and all that. He just loved the anti-hero like you do.
Yeah, I like those guys.
He loved those kind of guys. He said, "I don't know why Americans don't like this guy more."
Did you guys ever make fun of his? Where
accent?
he's from?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No, we thought it was cool.
Yeah. You see, that's the thing. Is
Brought
Americans
a different kind of culture. Like we would go out and drink, and he never got hammered like every American.
Oh no, they had the Constitution to
right. I mean,
hold their liquor well.
He just drank a little bit and just be social. Like that's how I like to drink. So we got along really well.
Okay.
While all the other kids just got ridiculously.
Is limey a derogatory term?
I don't know.
And is that British or
here.
Irish?
Not here. So you can say it.
It's true.
You can say bloody if you want.
Well, the thing is, because we are of European descent, we can probably throw around the Poles.
Yeah.
But
I'm German. Can I say anything?
I know Polish people. I don't think they'd be offended. Yeah, you can say you're a kraut.
All right. It is time for next question. And Austin, the producer, is going to join us now and kind of moderate.
Hello,
What's going
Austin.
on, Austin?
How's it going, guys?
Are you worried about your Cubs?
No, just get healthy.
Okay.
And then
Are you worried about Brexit?
Well, let me tell you about the Brexit. There's a lot of opinions on the Brexit that I have some. I don't want to take up all the time of next question to handle all those.
This is what Prod Squad is for.
This is for the podcast.
Yes. I really hope you guys talk Brexit because we are just merely scratching the surface with our Brexit conversation here at the Tay and J Show.
All right, Austin, let's go ahead with next question.
Next question.
First question.
Oh, wait. Oh, do I need to play music or are we not going to do that?
You can throw some F-ball under there.
Oh, yeah. Good call. Oh, boy.
Make this a little
Juan's
epic.
familiar with this. F-ball. Where'd it go?
Austin, just go with your question.
Any music will be fun.
I mean, this is close enough. The NBA draft was last night, so we'll play NBA music.
There you go.
Okay,
There are
here
some
we
NBA
go.
questions, though. Take it away, Austin.
All right. The Thunder dealt Serge Ibaka for Victor Oladipo, Ersan Ilyasova, and Domantas Sabonis. Is Kevin Durant more or less likely to re-sign with Oklahoma City now?
I don't think it's either. I'm probably supposed to pick one of those. I don't think it's either because I don't think that moves the needle all that much. I do love this deal for the Thunder because you had 1 year left of Serge Ibaka, and you got a two-way guard, which they've been looking for so long. Oladipo can score. He's a great defender.
No offense to Deion Waiters, but I'll put Oladipo out there.
He's a perfect complement to Russell Westbrook. So even if Durant doesn't resign, I kind of like that, at least for the next year. But, they also had Domantas Sabonis, who I think kind of takes over for what Enes Kanter did. And Enes Kanter goes to the starting lineup. And Steven Adams allowed you to do this deal because he's a better defender than Serge Ibaka. Right. Better rebounder than Serge Ibaka. So I look at that roster and think it can be better in the long term. If I'm Durant, I'm signing a 1 year deal. going with Westbrook one more year. Let's try to win this, and then I'll figure it out.
Well,
because everyone's still, and then you can probably get more money long term next year when the salary cap goes up even more.
They choked that series away against the Warriors. They should have beaten them, and I think those teams, as they were constructed, if they would have played 10 series, Thunder probably would have won 6. And I think they are already there where they can do it next year. So I'd be surprised if Durant left regardless, but I think this certainly helps their chances next year.
There's only one team I would sign with if I were him. That makes sense. And it's Golden State.
And you wonder if that's almost too easy, isn't it?
I would hate it. I would hate it. I wish he'd be like, no, I'm going to beat that team. And that way I'm with the whole, I hate guys kind of coming together. Yeah. But the Thunder have a great chance of winning, right? Mm-hmm. And I think he'd want to try and see that through, but I can't get into his head, and I don't know what his relationship is like with Russell Westbrook.
Next question.
Thank you, Coach Gross. Should the Bulls eventually retire Rose's number?
No. Heck no.
Think about it. Jerry Sloan's number's retired.
Yeah.
Bob Love's number's retired.
Well, that was when the franchise didn't know any better.
I know, but by those standards, should Derrick Rose... He's an MVP.
Joakim Noah will get his number retired before Derrick Rose.
Who deserves it more? Derrick Rose, I know he had a terrible last couple of years. His first 4 years, awesome.
You're right.
I mean, he was an MVP. If we were talking about Illinois with the standards they have for each, if somebody was a Big Ten Player of the Year,
yeah, you're right.
They're getting their number up.
I just think things are too acrimonious. I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
But what they could do,
10 years from now, though,
well, you're kind of right, because in a way I view this like a smaller version of Brett Favre. Right? Eventually, he was the hometown boy, even though Brett Favre's not from Green Bay, but he kind of became an adopted son.
Yeah.
And then things got a little bit ugly at the end of it, a bit acrimonious. But then you wait 7-8 years.
Now, Favre did more than...
Oh, he did a lot more.
Rose.
But then you add in the factor of him being the hometown kid.
Injured.
Okay, I could see a situation where that happens. It's not.
Do you think Joe should be? Defensive Player of the Year? All-NBA first team?
No.
I'd be okay. I wouldn't care. I really wouldn't care. If their numbers are up there, okay, cool.
Yeah. But when the last guy hung up, there was Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, right?
Yeah, Scottie. Scottie was the last one.
So now you've set
That's a Hall of Famer, right?
I mean,
but Jerry Sloan...
To me, Bob Love and Jerry Sloan, okay, fine. They were early on when that franchise wasn't doing a whole lot. Yeah. And then you get Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and there's your new bar. It doesn't matter that Bob Love's
Derrick Rose was the youngest MVP ever.
I also like that Lon, when you guys are doing the MVP game, he's like, Bob Love. And I'm in the car, I'm like, no.
He wasn't,
not even close. Yeah, he was fine.
He was good.
All right.
Next question.
Kentucky freshman Skal Labissiere and Kansas freshman Chick Diallo didn't go in the first round. Is this a bad look for those Blue Bloods?
Chick.
I mean, Skal Labissiere was projected at this time last year to be the number 2 pick in the draft.
Right.
I don't think it affects John Calipari whatsoever.
He'll be fine.
I mean, he's been fine.
I mean, Jamal Murray still went 7.
I have seen and talked to coaches who say Kansas is not the best place if you're a one and done to develop. Like, it's not the best for player development. And Carlton Bragg didn't play a lot. I don't mind that these freshmen, Skal Labissiere had to earn his playing time, and he didn't earn it. So he didn't play. Cliff Alexander didn't earn his playing time, so he didn't play all that much. Carlton Bragg, why would you play him over some of the guys Kansas was playing last year? Now, Carlton Bragg stayed another year, and he's probably going to be really good next year. I don't think it's a huge issue for those guys, but I think for Kansas, as you've had Cliff, had Chick Diallo, some of these top 5-star guys, you might look more at Duke. There's not a lot of 5-star guys that have gone to Duke and disappointed so far.
I would say that Ben Simmons going to LSU has more of an impact on this than a couple blue blood guys not getting picked in the first round. In other words, if you are that uber talent, and not to say that,
Skal was close, but not Ben Simmons.
Right, but that you go to a place where literally you are the lone dog on that team. And it kind of comes down to what kind of player you are. If you are that stat stuffer, if you are that athletic freak, you could go to Joe Schmo University and you will still be getting plenty of coverage on SportsCenter.
If you were an NBA prospect and you have no affiliation with Illinois, where would you go?
NBA prospect, no affiliation. I mean, Kentucky still.
I think I'd go to Duke. Because Krzyzewski, look what he's done with Ingram.
Yeah.
Look what he's done with Tyus Jones, a little for Jabari Parker. Now, some of these guys were going to be good regardless of where they went.
Sure.
But there's not a guy that went there and was like really disappointed. I mean, the Plumlees all gone pro. Like all those guys do.
I think with Duke, the one thing that, and this is unfair to them, unlike North Carolina, which every 5-6 years, it seems, here's a star, there's a star. Jordan, Vince Carter, James Worthy. I'm trying to think any in the 2000s. I'm sure there's been a couple.
Vince Carter in late 90s, Anton Jameson.
Raymond Felton. Not Marvin.
But no, I'm saying the last 5 years. Look at the guys.
In the last 5 years, then
he's starting to recruit like Cal, and they're all working.
Duke is probably the correct answer, but I think sheer quantity of guys that Kentucky continues to put in there, I'd still put them.
You're nitpicking there, but I think I might side with Duke.
But if you look at even back to Memphis,
Cal had 4 of the last 8, right? First overall picks.
Even back to Memphis, I mean, Derrick Rose was a star, but other than that, who came out of Memphis when he was there?
But
that's had a great
that's
NBA
a different
career.
school. But you look at Anthony Davis, right?
Right. How's Kid Gilchrist doing?
Kid Gilchrist in the NBA, right? He was a number 2 overall pick. He's doing just fine there, so you can't go wrong with Cal. But I think if I were deciding, I think I'd side with Duke and what Coach K's doing.
Kentucky first and Auburn and Bruce Pearl second. That's my answer.
Next question.
Who's the best Big Ten prospect in next year's draft?
Not a lot.
Yeah, there's not a lot. I mean, could Nigel Hayes have a good NBA career?
Nah, I think he's a second rounder. Melo Trimble. Yeah. I think he's a second rounder.
Is he undersized? Is that it for Melo?
Miles Bridges out of Michigan State. One of those Michigan State freshmen might be one of those guys. Thomas Bryant, I don't know if he's a first-round pick. He's got a chance, but it's a loaded draft. One guy I really, really like is OG Anunoby out of Indiana.
The next
6'8",
Oladipo.
Yeah, 6'8", 215. He's a bigger version of Oladipo. Now, his offensive game's got to grow, but he's athletic. He can defend. And I think this year he starts to take more of an offensive role, especially with Troy Williams out. I mean, he's kind of their guy on the wing with James Blackman kind of handling the ball, Thomas Bryant down low. I think he could be in for a big year. But the Big Ten talent level compared to the rest of the country, pretty down when you compare it to the ACC.
Is Peter Jacques an NBA player?
Could be, but I don't see it.
Undersized shooting guard?
Right. You think of like next year's all Big Ten team, not as great as
let's
what
just
we've seen
say
the last couple of
it
years.
would be a surprise, right, if Malcolm wasn't a first team all Big Ten next year.
I think it'd be a very, very disappointing season if he did not.
And that kind of tells you where the Big Ten is. I feel like every year I go and saying, the Big Ten's weaker this year. Legitimately, I think it's weaker.
Yeah,
year.
because you got a lot of rebuilding teams. You got some young talent in there. Maryland's got some talent coming in. Michigan State's got a bunch of 5-star kids, but I don't know, if there's a bunch of NBA draft prospects sticking out right now.
Next question.
Well, the Cubs have lost 4 straight. Do you have any real concerns about them?
Well, let's just say this. The sheen of invincibility that they kind of picked up over these first 2.5 months, you see this, and I don't care who you are. It is a bit jarring.
Baseball's hard.
It is.
Baseball.
And I tell you what, there is still an amount of luck that eventually you're always going to regress or progress to a mean. Whatever you are, ultimately, your record will reflect that at the end of 162 games.
I got 2 #Cubs problems. One is real, and it's the bullpen. With all the injuries they've had, they're having tryouts in the bullpen right now, right? They've called up a bunch of AAA guys. Who can pitch for us? Who's a major league bullpen guy? They got to add a bullpen arm or 2. The other one for me, and it's kind of what I said before the season, for me, it's not really a problem until you get into a 7-game series or a 5-game series. They strike out a lot, and that can cause some offensive droughts. I think their offense is deep enough, but they've had injuries with like Dexter Fowler. Can't have that many injuries, and now they've had Fowler, Schwarber, Soler out. That starts to play a role. But there's a lot of swing and miss. That's why if you get into a series with San Francisco that can make you swing and miss a lot, the Mets who can make you swing and miss a lot, the Nationals who can make you swing and miss a lot, that's where I worry, is more in those short series than over the whole of 162 games. I still think this team is the best in baseball. I still think this team is going to win the Central. But when you get into a smaller sample, I think that's when you worry a little bit.
Have the slump now. Have it now, get the guys healthy, get back, and then post All-Star break, then just get red hot like you did last year and have that momentum, if that even exists in baseball going into the postseason, as I look for John Gross.
Next question.
Final one, John Gross. The NHL draft is tonight. Are you guys interested in at all?
Well, no, I can't even think an answer. I'm not a hockey guy.
The Blackhawks might make a move. It sounds like Marcus Kruger could be dealt, or Andrew Shaw could be dealt because he's looking for a lot of money. The top prospect, it looks like, is from Switzerland, Zurich, Switzerland. Austin Matthews, the center. Know about him?
No.
Toronto Maple Leafs have the number 1 pick.
I've heard good things.
Winnipeg Jets have number 2, and not Patrick Kane, but Patrick Lane out of Finland. Sounds like a made-up name.
Yeah, it does.
Patrick Lane. Like the knockoff
Sounds like when
version
George
of Kane.
Costanza would be asked, who's your favorite author? Flebben? Flebben?
But it's weird seeing Canadian teams have 5 of the top 6 picks.
Yeah.
What's up?
Did
What's up?
you just hear my voice crack right there?
That was nice.
Peter Brady style.
That's pretty terrible when Canada is like the home of hockey and they got 5 of the top 6 picks.
Yeah, it's not good.
All right, that's hockey talk.
That's hockey talk. Austin, thanks, buddy.
You're welcome, guys.
And he's going to come right back after the break.
Because we're talking Brits.
Do you guys know Your Enemy?
Brexit version.
Yes, know your enemy. We still have the hotkey and everything, so we're good for that. We have that awesome intro, but I'll find some good British music to come out of the break with.
Benny Hill.
Now that's just rude. Or I don't know. I'm trying to think.
Beatles.
Well, we will think here in the next 2-minute break. What's that? The Beatles? We'll come out with Beatles. That makes sense. This segment just kind of fizzled out. I apologize. Lon runs a better show than I do. That's why it's called the Tay
Head to Break
and J Show.
ESPN Radio Sports Beat. Here's Sarah Spain.
Safe to say the Bulls had an awkward situation on their hands at the Advocate Center Thursday night when Jimmy Butler strolled in. While Butler got a massage from the training staff, Team Brass was hard at work a few rooms over, monitoring the draft, researching future picks, and, according to multiple reports, taking offers for Butler. According to multiple sources, the Bulls were all in on Providence product Chris Dunn. Chicago was reportedly in advanced discussions with the Celtics, focusing on trading Butler to get Boston's number 3 pick and Dunn. But when the Celtics selected Jaylen Brown, Chicago moved on to talks with the Minnesota Timberwolves. The T-Wolves and their new head coach Tom Thibodeau reportedly made an aggressive play for Butler after selecting Dunn at number 5, but ultimately couldn't find a common ground with Chicago. So, as of now, Butler is still a Bull, and Chicago GM Gar Forman tried to play off the whole thing. More on that after this.
It starts with the tires. Add in the pilots.
San Francisco Tower, clear to land on 29er right.
Flight 232, clear to land 29er right.
150 sleepy passengers homeward bound. Descending through the clouds, flaps full, gear down. Runway in sight, where the rubber meets the road. And touching down, those Goodyear tires. Everything we learn making tires for commercial airliners inspires what we roll into yours. Go to Goodyear.com to find the right tire in store for you. Goodyear, more driven.
Ryan Russillo here. If you're a small business owner, then you know firsthand it can be a real challenge to get access to funding. It's time for funding to catch up to the 21st century. It's time for Cabbage. Fill out the application online and you'll get a decision in minutes with on-the-spot access to a line of credit of up to $150,000. No waiting, no hassle. Cabbage is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, has been named a Forbes Top 100 company twice in a row. So go to Cabbage.com or call 855-CABBAGE. That's Cabbage with a K, K-A-B-B-A-G-E, the #1 online provider of small business loans.
After the draft, Bulls general manager Gar Forman claimed he didn't even know Butler was at the team facility and that they were, quote, in no talks with anybody. There was no discussion during the entire draft this evening as far as Jimmy Butler was concerned. And yet, a few moments later, Forman admitted, quote, did we receive calls? Of course we did, and that's our job, to listen to calls. I guess if we're parsing words, just listening isn't exactly a discussion. Or maybe Forman doesn't count text messages as talks. Either way, it's tough to put the toothpaste back in the tube. Forman can claim the Bulls were never interested in dealing Butler, that it was all unfounded rumors, but all the talk is certain to have affected Butler. And there's still a chance the Bulls find a willing trade partner and send him packing as part of a top-to-bottom house cleaning and rebuild. In the meantime, I think it's safe to say the two sides will have a little thawing to do after Thursday night. With the ESPN Radio Sports Beat, I'm Sarah Spain.
DP Dough is the original Calzone company, and they cater all types and sizes of events, from office orders to private parties to entire visiting football teams. Everyone will be sure to enjoy something different than the same old sandwiches or pizza. DP Dough also delivers to nearly all of Champaign, Urbana, and Savoy until late at night. So give them a call or order online when you're hungry and no one else is delivering. With over 1 million calzones served since opening in 2006, DP Dough is sure to satisfy and fill you up. DP Dough, the original Calzone company.
Hello, this is Shane Coulter of Country Arbors Nursery. Country Arbors is one of the area's largest growers of annuals and perennials, and they're now all on sale. All spring annuals are 30% off. Hanging baskets, flats, proven winners, all 30% off until they're gone. If you need some color in your yard, you'll never find annuals this nice for this cheap. Locally grown right here in Urbana. Tens of thousands to choose from, all 30% off. Our perennials are also buy 5 or more and we'll give you 10% off. So come out to Country Arbors Nursery for the big summer flower sale. You can find out more information and directions at countryarbors.com.
Hi, it's Stevie J. Start your day with me along with Diane Ducey, weekday morning 7 to 9, here on ESPN Radio 93.5.
This segment of the Tay and J Show brought to you by CMI. Let CMI's team of janitorial supply and equipment specialists serve your business. CMI is female-owned and operated, and they understand the importance of tailoring all products and services to fit the specific needs of your company. Call Brad and Betsy Parks today at 359-6262. That's 359-6262. And online at CMIClean.com. That's CMIClean.com.
It is the Tay and J Show. Mike Carpenter with Jeremy Warner. On a day that Britain is no longer in the European Union, we figured, why not stick with current events, current topics? This is actually a big day for the world, so I had to play some Clash. Arguably the greatest British rock band, not named the Beatles, Stones, or Led Zeppelin, the Clash. Arguably.
That's an interesting topic.
Yeah.
The Monkees are not on it.
The Monkees are American.
That's right.
Yeah, they were the
Davy
Hollywood
Jones
creation.
is American.
No, Davy Jones is British.
I was going to say,
but Mickey Dolenz, Mike Nesmith,
right.
and Peter Tork was the other guy. But yeah, no, I would say the Clash. This is one of the greatest albums ever. Right. London Calling, fantastic. If you're a rock fan, it's not punk.
How about
really at this point?
Queen?
Queen is, they're bigger in Europe than they are here, and they're pretty big here.
Glam rock. Pink Floyd.
Yeah,
I'm not a big Floyd fan, but
I like a few of their albums a lot.
Sex Pistols?
They had one album. It's a great album. Great punk album. But
Genesis.
Well, anything with Phil Collins, I'm a big fan of. Let's be honest.
The Police.
The Police. Yeah, they're British. Probably they're the biggest British band of the 80s.
Judas Priest.
Oh, wow. They're really good, too. But I think the Clash are better than those guys.
Got it.
Oh. Coldplay.
Dang it.
Yeah.
You stole it. Coldplay.
Yeah.
Coldplay.
Okay, so Austin's going to be in here in a little bit with our Brexit Know Your Enemy.
How about The Who? The Who.
I like The Who. I don't love The Who.
Okay.
I'd take the Clash over The Who.
All right. Oasis?
Oasis. I got some friends that love those guys. Yeah, they're okay.
Don't look back in anger.
Yeah.
Heard you say.
I feel like they're actually a candidate for all the songs sound the same.
Sure.
But I got friends that love them.
Wonderwall's phenomenal.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is an old classic segment of the show. It is Know Your Enemy, British edition. As I look for this, I tell you what, Jeremy, when I step in Lon's shoes, I just struggle mightily looking for this. Oh, there it is.
Getting to know you, getting to know all about you.
Wait a minute, don't I know you from somewhere?
Clearly, Know Your Enemy!
I know you. You know you. And I know you know that I know you.
You are enemy. You are my hated enemy. I don't even know who you are.
It is Know Your Enemy Brexit version, and Austin Berkland is going to quiz Carp and I. And Carp, you are going to use what to weigh in?
Okay, so we each chose similar-looking British actresses. I'm going with Daisy Ridley, so I'll say Ridley.
And I'm going with Keira Knightley, so I'll say Knightley.
I'll say Knightley. She was in Bend It Like Beckham.
Yes.
And Daisy Ridley, of
They
course,
both look like cousins.
They do.
Right?
They do. So Daisy Ridley, of course, Rey from Star Wars Force Awakens.
All right, Austin Berkland, are you ready, sir?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's go.
All right, number one. This famous Brit is an actor in the Marvel and now the current boyfriend of Taylor Swift.
Oh, what's his name?
She keeps changing boyfriends.
Can I say the character's name?
Maybe.
Knightley.
Okay.
Go.
It's Loki. Whoever the Loki guy is.
Is it?
Can you one-up him and name the actor?
I don't know. It's not a Hemsworth. Hemsworth?
Hiddleston?
Jeremy wins the point.
Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah!
Okay, fine. They say he might be the next Bond.
He looks good, man. I think he's better looking than her. So,
yeah, no, Taylor's was cute.
Yeah, she's all right.
All right, number 2. This Brit is a Sir and played the mentor of young Luke Skywalker.
Ridley. Sir Alec Guinness.
That is correct.
Right.
Harp wins the point.
Up your alley.
Mm-hmm.
We are tied 1-1.
Okay.
This British actress was in Bedazzled, Austin Powers' Man of Mystery,
Knightley.
and TV. Go ahead. Jeremy?
I hope you don't.
Forget it.
5, 4, 3.
Totally forgot it.
Yes! All right, can I go? Yeah. Ridley, Elizabeth Hurley.
Dang it!
That is correct.
One of my
Carp gets a
favorites.
2-1 lead.
I had her in my head.
Oh, yeah.
Then
How can you not?
I kind of got lost in
Yeah,
there.
I understand. I understand completely.
It's easy to get lost looking at her. Number 4. What is bangers and mash?
Ridley.
Go ahead, Carp.
It is a traditional British dish consisting of potatoes and meat.
What kind of meat?
Isn't it corned beef? Corned beef hash, bangers and mash.
That is incorrect.
Oh, so I got to get the meat right? All right, well, good luck.
Jeremy?
I don't got it.
Okay. What meat is it?
It is a mashed potatoes and sausage dish.
Oh, you see, Keith Richards makes a lot of bangers and mash.
Carp, you're more English than I am.
Sorry. I'm up 2-1, though.
Yes.
Okay.
Up 2-1. Question 5. What is the most common king name in Britain?
Ridley.
British history.
Ridley.
Go ahead.
Henry.
That is incorrect.
Wow.
Oh, I'm just going to take a guess. Knightley. Edward.
Jeremy, you win the point.
Whoa. Okay, tied up.
All right.
That's a boom moment right
Number
there.
6. Number 6.
I know royal names. Take that.
This is Price is Right style. How long has Queen Elizabeth been in power? The closest without going
Ridley.
over.
Okay, we each guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Our coast.
Okay. I will say 56.
Jeremy?
57.
64 is the correct answer. Jeremy gets the point.
I should have let you
I
guess
was going to
first.
say, you're going first.
Okay.
I was going to say like 62 or something
3-2,
like that.
Jeremy Lee.
Roger Bannister was the first athlete to do this in world running history.
Ridley, 4-minute mile.
Dang.
Carp, you
I
are
knew
correct.
that one too.
That's Chariots of Fire, right?
Yeah. I knew that one too.
All right, the next one. How many players are on a cricket team?
Knightley.
Go.
7. I just guessed.
Guess, Carp.
Ridley, I'll say 11.
Carp, you are correct.
Oh.
Hey, well
All right,
done.
thanks.
Nice guess.
I figured it was like soccer and,
Right.
and football.
Okay. U.S. Americans have Camp David. What is the name of the Queen's vacation home?
Oh.
I don't think we even know.
Can I just make up a name?
Go for it.
New Hampshire.
It is Windsor Castle.
Windsor
Castle.
Yeah, I've
I
heard
like
of
New
Windsor.
Hampshire better.
Windsor, Canada.
Okay, so what is it, 3-2? 3-3. 3-3.
Yeah, 3-3.
Okay, cool.
Next
Okay.
question, Austin.
The next question is, how many people did Jack the Ripper kill?
Knightley.
Are we doing Prices Right style?
No, just...
All right.
8.
It is 5. He killed 5 people.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't that much. How did he get that famous?
I don't know.
Don't we
You
have a
would think they
higher
would have been
bar?
more afraid of the bubonic plague. That killed tens of thousands of people.
Like a third of the
Killed millions of
population,
people,
right?
actually. Okay, so we are still tied 3-3. How about one more for the winner?
All right, one more.
Okay.
What is the traditional British breakfast? The person who gets the most gets the point.
Knightley.
Ridley.
No, both of you answer.
Oh, okay.
All right, so Carp, what's your
When
answer?
you say traditional English breakfast, is
Yeah.
this like an old slang?
No, there is a traditional English breakfast. And I'm using this because Brexit and breakfast sound really similar.
Okay.
What about second breakfast?
I'm guessing toast. I'm guessing eggs. And I'm guessing sausage.
Do you have any more?
There's another?
There's 2 more.
Coffee.
Nope.
Tea.
No, I see. We can't do this because
All right.
I can just copy yours.
Okay.
Can you get one more, though?
Okay.
Well,
toast, eggs.
Well,
Oh,
he
no,
said I was going to go muffin or whatever, but I guess I'll go toast. Eggs, sausage, tea. Not milk.
Nope.
What is it?
The traditional English breakfast is sausage, tomatoes, baked beans, ham, toast, and eggs.
British people have terrible food.
No wonder their teeth
Do we
are
have
awful.
one more for a tiebreaker?
Yeah, sure.
One more. Let's go with, we have the Secret Service. What does the Queen have?
Oh, Ridley.
Carp.
Oh, wow. I messed this up. Because I was thinking CIA. It's not the same. Secret Service. I'll just say MI6, whatever. Who cares?
That is incorrect.
I'm just going to go Kingsman.
The Queen's
kind of
Guard.
fun movie.
Is there one more? We have time for one more.
One more. Okay.
Yeah.
They basically, that's what Game of Thrones, King's Guard, right? Yeah.
What is the clock in London called?
Ridley.
Oh, come on.
Big Ben.
Carp wins 5-4.
Hey, Austin, thank you so much. We're late for a break here, so
Brexit version of
Know Your Enemy.
Coming up next, we'll talk Graham Couch, Lansing State Journal. Drive time first, though.
Tay and J Show.
I'm Elwood Blues, here to tell you about the 9th Annual Blues, Brews, and BBQ Festival, June 24th and 25 in Champaign, Illinois. This year's fest features the hottest names in blues, roots, and music today. Reverend Horton Heat, the Fabulous Thunderbirds with Kim Wilson, Howard and the White Boys, and many more. Outstanding. Admission is absolutely free. That's the 2016 Blues, Brews, and BBQ Festival, June 24 and 25, downtown Champaign. For more information, click on bluesbrews&bbqfest.com.
Legends Golf Course and Driving Range in Southwest Champaign offers something for golfers of all levels. The 9-hole executive course is great for anyone seeking a quick round of golf at an affordable price. Check out league nights, schedule a private outing, or your company's next team building event. Junior players can learn the game through camps while honing in on their skills in a fun environment. Relax after a round in the newly renovated clubhouse while catching up on golf tournaments or baseball on one of their 6 televisions. Legends Golf Course and Driving Range. Visit them at legendsofchampaign.com. Live from the Habib BPC Studios, this is WSJK Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Fox News Radio, I'm Jane Metzler. That's the sound of investors exiting the market as the UK votes to exit the European Union.
When it was all said and done, the Dow ended the session down 611 points to 17,399. The S&P 500 clipped by 76 points to 2037. The Nasdaq gave up a massive 202 points to end at 4707.
Liz Clayman with the Fox Business Network stepping down in October. British Prime Minister David Cameron announcing his resignation after the vote. President Obama spoke with him by phone today, insisting,
while the UK's relationship with the EU will change, one thing that will not change is the special relationship that exists between our two nations. That will endure.
The president also calling German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Northern Ireland, Scotland, and the City of London voted to stay in the EU. Right now, there's talk of breaking away from the UK. A fast-moving California wildfire turns deadly in the central part of that state. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal has the latest live.
Jane, hot, dry, windy conditions allowed a fire to take off yesterday afternoon, tearing through an area of Kern County so quickly that some didn't have time to get out. A retired couple died in the fire, according to authorities who are assessing the damage.
It was very explosive. It started in Lake Isabella, and it moved over that ridgeline within minutes and consumed 3 communities after that.
It's Kern County Fire Captain Tyler Townsend. At least 100 structures have burned, 80 of them homes, possibly more. In less than 24 hours, the fire grew to nearly 20,000 acres, Jane.
Thanks, Jessica. Deadly flooding in West Virginia. The number killed in severe storms is now 20.
Our hearts go out to all their families.
Governor Earl Ray Tomblin, thousands without power. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Focus. You need it to run a business, so don't let legal questions distract you. Use LegalZoom instead. Things like lease agreements and employment laws get complicated, but they're part of running a business. That's why LegalZoom built a network of independent attorneys in 48 states. You can rely on them for the legal details without paying by the hour, since LegalZoom isn't a law firm. So focus on growing your business and use LegalZoom for the legal stuff. LegalZoom. Legal help is here.
Take a test mow today on the John Deere Z535M Z-Track zero-turn mower with the re-engineered Excel Deep Mower Deck to mow faster, better. Because it's not how fast you mow, it's how well you mow fast. Visit your local John Deere dealer today and see why nothing runs like a deer.
For great deals and service on legendary John Deere equipment, visit Cross Brothers in Mount Pulaski, Clinton, or New Holland today. Find us on the web at crossbrothers.com or myjohndeeredealer.com.
I think it'll be a good thing. You're taking your country back.
Donald Trump in Scotland, where he cheered the UK vote to leave the EU, saying the place is going wild over it. But Scotland voted overwhelmingly to stay in the European Union. When a reporter asked Trump about the plummeting British pound, the presumptive GOP nominee responding it was good news for him because more people would visit his golf course. Bernie Sanders has yet to drop out of the Democratic presidential race or to endorse rival Hillary Clinton, but sounds like he's coming closer.
Bernie Sanders just can't seem to say the words, though he came closer than ever to conceding today during an appearance on MSNBC 2 days after Hillary Clinton gave an economic speech in North Carolina that appeared to promise unions and Sanders supporters what they want to hear.
I'm going to do everything I can to defeat Donald Trump. I think Trump, in so many ways, will be a disaster for this country if he were to be elected president.
Hillary Clinton will campaign for the first time with Sanders' protege and anti-Wall Street crusader, Senator Elizabeth Warren, in Cincinnati on Monday, an attempt to peel away Rust Belt voters from Donald Trump in the key battleground state of Ohio.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin. Will there be a winner? The Mega Millions jackpot, a big one tonight.
There was no winner on Tuesday or the other 29 consecutive drawings since March 11th, bringing tonight's Mega Millions jackpot to a whopping $363 million, the sixth largest Mega Millions prize ever and the 15th largest lottery of all time here in the U.S. Of course, there's the astronomical odds we always hear about.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yes and no. Mega Millions is played in 44 states, D.C., and the Virgin Islands.
That's Fox's Jeff Manasso in Chicago. I'm Jane Metzler, Fox News Radio.
Good use of Dumb and Dumber, Manasso.
Yes.
Here's your ESPN Radio 3-day forecast brought to you by Chief Bauer. Need a cooling expert this summer? Call Chief Bauer Service Experts at 866-EXPERTS, or you can visit them online at chiefbauer.com. Tonight, partly cloudy, low of 66. Saturday, sunny, clear, high 91, low of 73. Sunday, thunderstorms, high 88, a low of 67. Right now, mostly sunny, 83 degrees in Champaign-Urbana. It's Drive Time, presented by Honda BMW of Champaign. For new and used vehicles, stop by Honda BMW of Champaign at the corner of Neal and Burwash in Savoy, or visit online at drivechampaign.com. Michael Carpenter, this is where we recap the first 2 hours of the Tay and J Show. Started off talking NBA draft, and I think from our perspective, obviously we knew Simmons would go 1, Ingram would go 2. Would have been a surprise that Boston chose Jaylen Brown number 3, but that's where the draft really started. And it got interesting because it sounds like, according to reports, Boston was really pursuing Jimmy Butler. Minnesota eventually seemed like they were pursuing Jimmy Butler, and the Bulls were listening. They did not pull the trigger, though, but that was kind of the story of the night, despite the Denzel Valentine pick, which I think was a pretty good pick.
I think good news for the Bulls, for Bulls fans that want to keep that option open, that you might be able to move Jimmy Butler, and I don't think it precludes you from doing that before the trade deadline or even next offseason, because you have a guy with the team-friendly deal, or I should say a contract that now with this new salary cap looks all the more manageable. Right. And if we're talking top 20 players in the NBA, I mean, he's
close. Yeah. I mean, he's definitely top 30 because he's an all-star, right?
So then the Bulls will be able to evaluate, I think, as the season goes along, okay, well, what is this really? Is this something that we could, have some level of success with in the next 2-3 years with the roster as presently constructed, or truly do we need to blow it up? And if you do blow it up, and we talked earlier with Stephen No from theathletic.com, and you also mentioned the same thing, if you're going to make a trade, make sure that what you're getting back is worth what you're giving up.
Don't trade 70 cents on the dollar, and some of this trade proposals sound like 50 cents on the dollar. Ricky Rubio in number 5. Listen, I like Chris Dunn. He was one of my favorite prospects in this draft, and I think he's going to be a really good point guard. But do I know, or do I think he's going to be better than Jimmy Butler? I don't think so.
Or are we going to say that Chris Dunn is going to become a perennial all-star by his third, fourth year in the league?
And Zach LaVine and Chris Dunn, it's intriguing to me, but I hesitate to pull the trigger. And it sounds like Minnesota didn't even offer that. As for Boston, number 3, which would have been Chris Dunn, and saying Avery Bradley or Jay Crowder. Again, it's interesting, but in the long run, are you a better team? I don't think so. So I'm glad they didn't feel like they had to make a move to make a move. And I know some fans got excited about the Jimmy Butler trade possibilities, and I was excited. But I was glad they held out, and they said, that's not good enough value. We value this guy really highly. We think he's a top 20, 25 player in the game, and we think if we stick with him, we have more options. We have better options in the future, whether it's building around him and finding another guy to pair with him or a different offer in the future.
Yeah. With Jimmy Butler, he's only 26. We talked about in the first segment. How good can he become? He's already, again, at this rate, he's a perennial all-star, and he will be for the next 4, 5, 6 seasons, and that's great. But when you see the teams that are making the NBA Finals, they have superstars. And in NBA, it is one league truly where you need some luck, whether it be through the draft. You need to be able to lull these free agents into your city, which the Bulls have never really been able to do.
Which we've learned you can't rely on.
No.
Right?
So there's an element of luck here where, okay, if you have Jimmy Butler, you're going to be making the playoffs, I think, more often than not. Maybe this year will be interesting, but I think they can still sneak in there with a 6 or 7 seed. But ultimately, that doesn't really matter. If you are competing for a title, what are you doing? And that will be a question they have to ask themselves come the trade deadline or next offseason.
But I'd rather have this option than tearing it down completely with just Chris Dunn and Ricky Rubio.
When you tear it down, it's torn down.
Chris Dunn and Jay Crowder, because, if you tear it down that far, you got to get luck just to get back there. Yes, you can get a top 5 or top 8 pick, but then you got to hit on it, and he's got to be a superstar to take you to that next level. So I don't mind this. Next year, you find out what can we do that can put this around. This year's kind of a weird year. It's going to be a weird year, but the one thing I'm happy about is they didn't wait. This could have been a really bad year with Derek and Jimmy trying to figure it out and just kind of being in this purgatory. At least now you have a few more options, you have a few more pieces, and you still have flexibility. You got cap room, all this stuff. And now the big thing on Gar Forman and John Paxson is, what do you do next? Because for me, this next move or moves in the next year and a half, this determines whether they should be back or not. As for Denzel Valentine, I like it. At number 14, you get the AP National Player of the Year. No, he's not the most athletic. He's not the fastest. He's not going to be a great defender, in my opinion. I think he'll be below average, okay, defensively. I don't think he'll be as bad as McDermott. But that offensive skill set, we saw it. He's an elite shooter in the college level. I think that'll translate. He's an elite passer, elite vision. I think they got a good role player, probably long-term starter on their team. With a 14th pick and a bad draft, I think that's a good thing.
We got a couple texts about, look at what Draymond Green did. And they're different players, obviously. But I think there is something to be said for Draymond Green. The measurables, so to speak, his speed, athleticism, things like that, were not something that blew people out of the water. And in fact, he was a second-round pick. So this idea...
Had knee issues.
Right, exactly. and that's what some of the concern with Denzel Valentine. I about said Washington again. But the one thing that you do have with Valentine, he is skilled. I think we sometimes forget that because his game wasn't always the prettiest per se, but he's an efficient shooter. At least he turned into one his senior year. And he's kind of a jack of all trades out there. He is a Swiss Army knife kind of player that I think it fits in Chicago. And not that it matters, but I think that kind of basketball player that he is, he'll immediately endear himself to the fans, and he will be an immediate contributor. Now, is there a ceiling on what he can do? Maybe.
Do you want him to be your third or second guy? No, not in my opinion. But he can be your fourth or fifth, and I think he's a nice piece.
Yeah.
I think he's got a higher ceiling to me than a Doug McDermott. Now, Doug McDermott I still think he can be a really good scorer in this league, but I think McDermott's a bench player. I think Valentine can eventually be a starter. I know a lot of people look, we need this. We need a better player than that. Yeah, you do. But that doesn't mean this wasn't a good move.
Right.
This isn't the move the Bulls need to make, but I thought it was a good one, drafting Denzel
Does it
Valentine.
make your team better for the foreseeable future? I think so.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be part of whatever team you have.
And again, at pick 14, the only other guys that were really talked about, Wade Baldwin. He's got a little more upside, but I don't think a ridiculously more upside. And I think what Denzel Valentine is, and he's going to be a good NBA player.
I think calling him a safe pick is not giving him enough credit for how good of a player he is.
I agree with you. How about the big trade that went down last night? No, not Jimmy Butler, but the Thunder trade Serge Ibaka for Victor Oladipo, Domantas Sabonis, and Ian Ilyasova. I like that deal for the Thunder. I don't know what the Magic are doing. They're hoping Serge Ibaka is a star and that he was held down maybe a little bit with the Thunder. But I think Steven Adams gave the Thunder exactly what they wanted out of Ibaka. Ibaka became more of a shooter, not as good of a rebounder and defender.
You have two of the best shooters in the league.
He had 1 year left on his deal, and you get Oladipo, Sabonis out of it. I like that.
I should rephrase. I said two of the best shooters in the league. Well, Russell Westbrook certainly shoots a lot, and he makes a decent amount of them. But Kevin Durant, the main guy there. But that backcourt now of Oladipo and Westbrook, oh my God. Talk about just two complete bulldogs on the court.
If you're Kevin Durant, don't you want to see what you can do next year with them? I mean, just sign a 1 year deal. And then you can sign your you can sign a 6 year deal with him, have an opt out after 1 year, right? And then decide if you want to go elsewhere. You and Russ want to do something else. I would want to play with Oladipo, Westbrook, Adams. Enes Kanter is really good. Now you got Sabonis to that bench. You got Deion Waiters on that bench. Andre Roberson on that bench. That's a legit title contender again.
We talked the next question about, is he more likely to stay now that this trade has been made? I don't think it mattered regardless. I think he was going to stay. At least that's the hunch I get. Because what we saw this year with the Thunder, they were, what you could argue, better than the Warriors. And I don't think that changes next year. And in fact, if you ask me right now, what roster do you prefer in a 7-game series Western Conference Finals? I'd say about 50-50. And I would not have said that this year.
I think it's pretty even. Yeah. And I think Oladipo helps you a lot to play a team like the Warriors.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting going forward. But I think the Thunder, if I'm Kevin Durant, I'm coming back to that team, at least for a year.
Yeah.
Will Malcolm Hill play in the NBA?
Yeah, he will. I don't know how long, because again, you have a guy like Brian Cook that was very skilled, had the size, not the most athletic.
He was 6'10" as opposed to 6'6", though.
Yeah, and he stuck around the league for a little bit, and he was a better shooter than Malcolm Hill. At least from 3-point range, he was a better shooter.
I know everybody talks about athleticism, and we're kind of talking about it with Valentine. For me, that's not the biggest thing about Malcolm. I think he's improving that, but obviously you have a ceiling about athleticism. For me, Malcolm Hill to get to the NBA, he needs to shoot about 40% from three this year.
Probably so.
He shot 31 last year, which went under the radar because he was so good. But he needs to shoot better from three. You hope his teammates kind of help him out with that. But that's where he's got to play in the NBA. You got to be a shooter. If you're going to be a 6'6" shooting guard that doesn't move all that well, isn't that athletic, doesn't have that great a burst, you got to be able to shoot that well. But I think out of the guys who have come through Illinois recently, since Myers Leonard, the guards, I mean, I liked Ravonte Rice, but Brandon Paul, I thought, had a really good chance.
Was
small and wasn't a good enough three-point shooter.
Right.
Malcolm's got the size. He's not as explosive as those other two guys, but I think he's skilled and big enough to play in the NBA.
Yeah, and I hope...
Or at least maybe a game or two or a season or two.
And to say he's going to have a Denzel Valentine season, i.e. AP National Player of the Year, I don't see that happening, but... In the Big Ten, he's certainly a first-team caliber player.
That's Drive Time, presented by Honda BMW Champaign. For new and used vehicles, stop by Honda BMW Champaign at the corner of Neal and Burwash in Savoy, or visit online at drivechampaign.com. When we come back, let's get a Denzel Valentine scouting report from a guy who watched him for the last 4 years. Graham Couch, Lansing State Journal, will join us next.
It is the Tay and J Show.
Check out the new Honda BMW of Champaign, formerly Twin City Honda BMW, and still located in Savoy. These guys are crazy for used vehicles. Truckloads of pre-owned vehicles, 25 to 50% off the price of a similar new model. And not just Hondas and BMWs, cars, pickup trucks, and SUVs of all makes. Financing options on used cars as low as 1.9%. Just drive by Honda BMW of Champaign and you'll see from the street that this is a new dealership. Honda BMW of Champaign, online at drivechampaign.com.
It's time for your out and about with Visit Champaign County. Terry joining me. Terry, lots of festivals this weekend in Champaign County, right?
Absolutely. The Blues, Brews, and Barbecue Festival returns to downtown Champaign tonight. It is now in its 9th year, and it brings renowned blues artists like the Reverend Horton Heat and the Fabulous Thunderbirds to the stage over 2 days, and you can take in as much barbecue and beer as you can.
And, of course, they have a great kids area for the little ones, too. Tolono Fun Day, another festival happening this weekend, getting started tonight, correct?
That's right. They have a Twilight 5K tonight, as well as a movie in the park, and tomorrow you can enjoy a parade, live music, games, and of course fireworks to end this fun and family-friendly event.
All right, if you want to see Oliver on stage, that's another option for you this weekend.
This is the last weekend for CUTC's production of Oliver at Parkland Theater. This is a classic musical take on Oliver Twist with a cast of 42 different local students, and shows are happening all weekend.
All right, sounds good. For details on these 3 events or anything else happening this weekend, Terry, where can they go?
Visit ChampaignCounty.org.
It's the ultimate engagement. It's Tay and J's Take an E contest, powered by Christopher & Company in downtown Champaign.
Listen to me and Jeremy weekday afternoons between 3 and 6. When we open the phone lines, call us at 359-2255. Answer a series of questions, and we'll enter you for a chance to win an engagement ring and the ultimate engagement. Then we'll let our audience vote on who should win. Get a full list of rules and details at ESPNCU.com today.
Hey, this is Brad again with Kramer Siding and Window Company, and it won't be long before you'll be getting back up on those shaky ladders, risking your neck cleaning out those mucky, yucky gutters. So if you never want to clean your gutters again, that's right, guaranteed never clean your gutters again, call us right now for the Gutter Helmet. We're running 15% off the Gutter Helmet, plus we have 0% financing for 18 months. Be sure to stop in our beautiful showroom on Country Fair Drive or give us a call for the Gutter Helmet.
Hi, I'm Damon Hackelman, owner of CleanRite in Champaign. If you're looking for a trusted restoration service company, just look for the guys in the blue trucks. At CleanRite, we understand that life happens, and we're ready to help. Our experienced service technicians will provide you with not only a quick response, but also honest answers and advice. For water, fire, smoke, or mold restoration, we're there when you need us. Call CleanRite today at 351-4930. That's 351-4930. Or just Google CleanRite Champaign.
Head out this Saturday and every Saturday to Urbana's Market at the Square, the area's largest farmers market.
Heading on down to the market Saturday.
The market has a bounty of Illinois-grown farm fresh fruits and veggies, meat, dairy, baked goods, arts, crafts, flowers, and more. Plus vendors selling Illinois wine and CU's best selection of food trucks.
Your friends are there at the market at the
Check out the online map and search for vendors and products at urbanaillinois.us/market. Come out this Saturday, rain or shine, and join in the fun of shopping local. 7 a.m. to noon, Illinois and Vine in downtown Urbana.
Coach Mike Ditka is not just talking sports. What will he say next? Hear him here Monday and Friday mornings from 7:30 to 8 with Brother Johnny and me, Stevie J, on ESPN Radio 93.5.
It's time for the update. With the 14th overall pick in the 2016 NBA draft, the Chicago Bulls select Denzel Valentine, Michigan State. The Bulls got rid of a Rose on Wednesday, but they got a Valentine last night to make up for it. I'm just going to be silent through that, but I appreciate it. Michigan State senior was the third senior taken in the lottery last night, along with Chris Dunn and Buddy Hield. Valentine told him about versatility. Last year, he averaged 19 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists, and was the do-it-all option and leader for the best team in the Big Ten. His performance netted him Big Ten Player of the Year and Associated Press Player of the Year awards. Well, he's not the most dominant on defense. He should provide the Bulls with a talented wing player who can make an NBA impact. In the second round, the Bulls took a chance on German forward Paul Zipser. ESPN draft analyst Chad Ford ranked him as the 12th best international prospect. Considering there were 16 selected in the first round alone, the most since 2002, Zipser could be a steal at 48. MLB, the Cardinals are in Seattle for the continuation of their 9-game road trip to NC Kansas City next week. It's a good day for Night Owls, but maybe not for Cardinals. They get underway at 9:10 p.m. tonight. Carlos Martinez against the newly acquired Wade LeBlanc. 31-year-old LeBlanc was acquired from Toronto yesterday. Pitched in Japan last year and only in the minors this year. If anything, tonight will be an interesting game to watch. Winning 3 of 4 in Boston, the White Sox continue their East Coast battles at home against the Blue Jays. They dominated last time, outscoring the Canadians 21-6 in a 3-game series. Tonight, Carlos Rodon toes rubber against Aaron Sanchez. Sox have lost 8 of Rodon's last 9 starts, and he holds a 2-6 record with a 4.16 ERA on the season. 23-year-old Sanchez has been pretty good for the Jays, posting a 7-1 record with a 3.35 ERA. Cubs are on the longest losing streak of the season, 4 in a row. Whether you want to blame it on injuries or youth, one thing's for sure, don't panic. Kyle Hendricks, Tom Kohler on the mound tonight in Miami. Hoping to get the Cubs back on track. 530 Sports Center.
This hour of the Tay and J Show brought to you by the Brian Hansen State Farm Agency. Looking for auto, boat, or homeowners insurance? If you're planning for retirement or maybe starting to think about college savings for the kids, if you answered yes to either of those questions, you need to stop in and visit with the folks at the Brian Hansen State Farm Agency in Urbana. They provide all major lines of insurance and financial products, too, for people all over Central Illinois, just like me and you, and they want to work with you. Everyone needs insurance, from auto and home insurance to business insurance, life insurance, and financial products. The Brian Hansen State Farm Agency offers it all. Stop by the Brian Hansen State Farm Agency for a quote at 408 North Race Street, Suite A, near downtown Urbana, or call 344-1900. That's the Brian Hansen State Farm Agency at 344-1900.
It is the Tay and J Show. Nathan DeSutter on updates. I never get to use that laugh hotkey, so I knew when that line was coming, so I had to throw it out there once.
Well done. It is the Tay and J Show. If you want to weigh in, you can text us on the Chief Bauer text line at 217-359-2255. That's 359-2255. We focused a lot on the draft, talked some Bulls with Stephen Noe, theathletic.com, talked some more national perspective with Michael Weisenberg of NBADraft.net. We'll go back to the Bulls a little bit, but also the Big Ten. Everybody knows this guy really well, and we'll be seeing him on TV a lot as well going forward. And let's talk about Denzel Valentine with Graham Couch. He's watched him the last 4 years with the Lansing State Journal. How you doing, Graham?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, we've seen a lot of Denzel Valentine, of course. What do you think about him translating to the NBA level with the Chicago Bulls?
Well, it'll be interesting to see how quickly he makes the transition. I think a lot of his game translates to the NBA, but every rookie struggles, and everybody draws a comparison to Draymond Green with him, and there are some similarities. There are also some differences, and people forget Draymond really struggled as a rookie. So I don't know how fast it'll happen, but people should know this: he was a better player as a senior than Draymond Green was as a senior, and what he will do for you is a couple things. One, if Jimmy Butler is on the roster, and I'm not a huge Jimmy Butler guy because I don't like shooting guards that can't shoot. But if you're going to have a shooting guard that can't shoot, you got to have a point guard or a wing who can shoot. And Denzel Valentine, whatever role he's playing, and I suspect it'll be more the wing early on, or even a 4 undersized occasionally, but more often the wing. He'll be able to knock down threes. He'll keep the ball moving. He'll make offense easier for other guys, including Butler, and that's just happened. He sees the game ahead of other people. And that'll translate. It'll take him time. One of the things he did late in his career, second half of junior year, especially senior year, really cut down turnovers. And for a guy who averaged, 19, 7, and 7 this year, had very few. And the speed of the NBA game, the length of guys, that'll take him a minute because he will try passes. He will do things that, are the right basketball play, but I suspect there will be some turnover issues with him early in his NBA career. But he'll figure them out. I mean, that's what he did at MSU, and he's a guy he's a 4-year guy, but, Tom Izzo, his assistants, they have never coached a player who developed more in 4 years, who willed himself to become something more than people thought he could be. So this idea, it wasn't just like he was a 4-year guy because his time ran out at MSU. He developed incrementally, and so if this step had happened a year earlier, I don't think he'd be back for a senior year. But the steps he took from sophomore to junior to senior year were immense. And he's not a guy who relies on big time athleticism, but I do think there is probably a step or two left in him.
Graham, I was going to ask you about that because obviously Tom Izzo's had plenty of great players go through his tutelage, but this seems to be, an exception to that. And I know the reaction after they lost that opening round game, a lot of the emotion coming from Tom Izzo was because this was Denzel's last game as a Spartan. So having covered him for 4 years, it's hard to measure intangibles and how well that will work in the NBA, but has there been another player that's went through Michigan State basketball whose personality, temperament, hard work, all those intangible sort of things impressed you as much as Denzel?
Well, not that I've covered for 4 years because he pretty much I started on the beat the year before Denzel, and I've known of him and I've seen him play in high school. He went to the same high school I went to. He won 2 state titles there. So I've seen him play for a long, long time. But and I think there are guys like Mateen Cleaves when he was at MSU was a guy who had a lot of those things. Now, he wasn't as good a player as Denzel Valentine at the end. He was earlier. He was a better player as a sophomore when he was Big Ten Player of the Year, but not as a senior. And, when you look at you go back to the Kansas game this year, and what's interesting is that was the moment that I had not seen that level from Denzel Valentine at the Champions Classic, the triple-double, and that was the moment he knew he could do it. Everything he'd worked on, now he could create his own shot at that level. Now he could do and there have been guys who have had similar relationships with Izzo, kind of special relationships, Draymond Green obviously being one of them. But again, nobody who's ever evolved his game to the degree that Denzel Valentine has has over time.
Graham Couch, Lansing State Journal, talking about Denzel Valentine to the Bulls. You can follow him on Twitter at Graham_Couch. A lot of concerns about his knee in this draft process, Graham, and I didn't see many issues at Michigan State.
Yeah, what's weird about the knee thing is the knee that is in question is his right knee, which he never has missed a game because of. It's a ninth grade football injury. It was he had a cartilage slip off it. They repaired it, and at the time, and I did a column the other day talking to the surgeon who did the operation. It was sort of cutting edge to put the cartilage back, and they did that. And so I don't think it was on teams' radars, and it showed up at the combine. The left knee is what cost him 4 games this year, the only 4 games he ever missed in his college career. He never missed any games in high school basketball. So, yeah, it hasn't been an issue. Now, he has wear and tear, and some teams, it's scared a little bit. I think there may have been some smoke screen, too. A couple teams hoped he'd slide, but there were some genuine concerns about it. And, his dad has had knee issues, played professionally overseas. His brother, had a little bit some knee trouble, played collegiately at Oakland. But, from talking to his doctor, she doesn't think it's any worse than most people in his situation and doesn't think it'll affect his career more than most NBA players who put in a decade. So we'll see. I mean, that is a question.
Yeah.
But he is not, if you think about a Derrick Rose is somebody who relies on athleticism to go over people and through people, and incredible torque on his knees. That's not who Denzel Valentine is. So there's no risk of him, if there is a knee surgery along the way, losing what creates his game. Now, if he slows down too much, that becomes a problem because he's not somebody who's ridiculously quick in the first place. But his game is not predicated completely on that.
Also, concerns about his athleticism. He's not an elite athlete, of course. How big of a concern do you think that is for that next level where, I love his offensive skill, but people are questioning, can he defend people? Can he get by people?
Yeah, he got a lot better defensively this year, I thought. And it started late in his junior year. I mean, he was always okay, but I thought tremendous strides and guarded some really good players and was really sound, really smart defender. So I think he'll be okay there, and I think he'll be able to guard multiple positions and depending on matchups. I think defense won't be a problem. The one thing, the most impressive thing this year about sort of his evolution, even from his junior year. So they go to the Final Four his junior year, and what was remarkable about that team is they went to the Final Four despite not having a player who could create his own shot or a player who could score really consistently in the post.
Mm-hmm.
Two fundamental aspects of easy offense. I mean, they just didn't have it. And so he comes back this year, and he could create his own shot. What he got much better at was handling the ball and driving and creating around attentive defense to him. And I think, he's never going to blow by you or blow by a lot of people, but he his shooting is so much better that you have to be up on him. He's got the running hook in the lane. I think what he does offensively will translate. But you're right. There are going to be length. That'll be the question when he's up against a 6'7" small forward who's really quick. Can he create that shot? The thing is, he's not going to be your number one option.
Right.
He's never going to be double teamed. His guy is going to create so much off the pass that he's going to be able to develop all that as a role player. If he was coming in as the focal point of an offense, those would be bigger concerns. But yeah, it will be an adjustment for him. I think no question.
Graham Couch, Lansing State Journal, on Twitter at Graham_Couch. Deontay Davis, slipped to what? Was it
second round?
Yeah,
31.
And I feel terrible for the kid because I'm sure that the advice he was getting said, well, you're going to be a lottery pick, but it didn't pan out that way. How much do you think he's regretting his decision today? Because I don't know how much he was, torn between the decision of going to the NBA or staying at Michigan State.
He was torn, and I think if it completely up to him, if there were no conversations on either side, he would still be at Michigan State. And that's the shame of it for him, is I don't think he entirely wanted to leave. But it was a weird draft. I mean, the team that came closest to taking him was Milwaukee at number 10, from everything I understand, which took Thon Maker. So, he almost went 10th. And then he didn't go until the second round. And, I don't think he interviewed all that well. I mean, he's not somebody who comes across that well. I don't know all his workouts for that well. He only worked out for 5 teams. And then you had an odd dynamic going on where you had 9 teams that didn't have a first-round pick. So you had a lot of teams with multiple picks. And this is something I didn't factor in and didn't see coming and probably should have. And so that's why you had all these these European players being stashed. These teams don't want a second first-rounder on their roster this year. So that created something in the 20s that I think cost him. If his name was Slovakia something and he was from Belarus, I think there's no doubt he's gone by 25.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a dynamic that the NBA probably has to look at a little bit. But also for him, I mean, he did get, I don't think they did a great job. His people did a great job of truly understanding where he was going to go. The system failed him to some degree because it started with a mock draft. Chad Ford's mock draft in midwinter, and that puts the bug in his ear that he's a first-round kid, and that puts the bug in his people's ear. That's the bigger problem.
Yeah.
Now that's the thing. And so those mock drafts, when they're wrong, are a little dangerous to some kids, and he's not the most – I mean, he's a good kid. I mean, here's the moment yesterday. This is what you need to know about Deonte Davis. In his most embarrassing moment yesterday, and a moment that he was probably just wanted to curl up in a ball and cry and wish he had not been part of the draft. After he left the green room, come back out, gone up on stage, shook the hand of the deputy commissioner. He's walking out looking despondent. Kids are yelling his name for an autograph. They yell all the players' names. And he went over and signed like 5 different autographs for kids.
That's
and,
cool.
He's a genuine, his core, he's a good guy. Now, I think he's impressionable, and he needs to be in the right situation where he's, looked after a little bit. And the problem is, once you're a second rounder, they don't have as much invested in you.
Yep.
So how much do they put into him? And so that's the question. He goes where Mark Gasol is and Zach Randolph, 2 veteran big men. Zach Randolph was a one-and-done player at Michigan State, 15 years ago. So maybe it's a good situation. A lot of it will come down to how much the coaches and veterans want to work with him and the people around him. But it was definitely a surprise. It was not a Connor Cook surprise, but it was definitely a surprise.
Definitely. Oh, we forget sometimes these kids are 18, 19. They're actually kids, most of these kids. And it's amazing how this process works sometimes. And you got to get as much information as possible. I want to ask you, Michigan State obviously brings in a bunch of great talent this year, Graham. How good do you think these freshmen and this team can be next season?
Better if Deonte Davis has stayed around. Like, if they could all do it over again. And I thought he was going to be the centerpiece of the team. I thought he was more important that he stayed than them landing Josh Jackson, because they had other great wings and other things. And he is a rim protector. I thought he had a chance to be a star. And, just like Tyler Ulis, I don't understand sometimes the rush to get out. You may never be a star at anything again in life. Like the chance to be a star basketball player at Kentucky, I don't understand the rush to leave it. Davis may never get to be a star in basketball. He had, I think, a chance next year. But I think it's going to be it's a team that there's tremendous upside. It's the greatest class Izzo's ever had, which is pretty remarkable,
right?
At least on paper. And they've got a surefire one-and-done type guy, and Miles Bridges, another guy, Josh Langford, who's the McDowell's All-American game, I think is a wonderful 2-guard. And they've got another big man, and they've got a great, who's a top 50 kid, and a point guard who was Mr. Basketball State. And they've got some good pieces coming back. It has the potential to be a Final Four type team, but what you cannot predict is chemistry, and you can't predict the way the attitude in the locker room. Like this year's team was better than any team I've been around. It started with Denzel and Tum Tum, and he'll be back, but it's just good kids who liked each other and liked playing with each other and fed off each other. And they, even when kids got benched, they accepted roles. That doesn't always happen. I've been around a lot of teams where it doesn't. So will it happen? I don't know. The talent will be there. They're going to have some really high-level talent, a couple kids they haven't had, and they should be in contention for a Big Ten title. But a lot of young players, a lot of new pieces. It could not be there, too.
I know Illini fans weren't happy Izzo offered Jeremiah Tillman and Jordan Goodwin. So, they're not very happy down here about that, Graham.
Well, and he hasn't gotten everybody he wanted that they've gone after. So who knows? If they're Michigan kids, the big thing to help with this class is there are Michigan kids involved, and he has had a pretty good fence around the state, and where he struggled when he's got to go into Illinois and elsewhere where where he's battling out Kentucky and other things. That's tough. But yeah, that's been one of his things. I mean, he's beaten Indiana to Gary Harris, Purdue to Brandon Dawson. He's created a program in Cachet where he can go into the places that 15 years ago, 20 years ago, more likely he couldn't do and get kids.
And it's not Chicago for him. I know he's not a fan of that.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago is the place. I mean, I don't know if I don't know how much he'll go back to Chicago if he doesn't have to. He would have not. Other than Jabari Parker.
Yeah,
I'm not sure he winds up in Chicago at all if Michigan wasn't dry at the time. If Michigan had like a Kalen Lucas, Darrell Summers class at the same time that Cliff Alexander and those guys were coming up, I don't know that he even messes with Chicago because he stayed away for a decade pretty much between Jabari Parker and Shannon Brown.
Yeah. Graham Couch, Lansing State Journal. Always great stuff. We appreciate you jumping on. I know you're out in New York, but great stuff as always, Graham. You can follow him on Twitter at Graham_Couch. Thanks, Graham.
Anytime. Take care.
Good stuff. He's one of my favorite beat writers. He's actually a columnist up at Lansing State Journal. And just if you're a Big Ten fan, he's always got good stuff. Yeah, good follow on Twitter. But some interesting stuff on Valentine. Yeah, the knee is a little bit of concern. I don't think he'll be. He's not a guy who blows by anybody. He's not your go-to scorer, Denzel Valentine. But I think he's a better defender than people give him credit for. And I hope people who watched him know how good of a shooter he is, how good of a passer he is. And when you think of Fred Hoiberg's offense, what's he want? He wants rapid ball movement and shooters. And Valentine fits into that. If he's your fourth, fifth guy, and maybe he's developed this much in 4 years, I hate how we think 22-year-olds can't get better. He can get better as a player. And I don't think he'll be great right away, but I think he'll help right away. But I think he's going to be a nice fit, a nice role player in this Bulls team for a while.
I think sometimes, no matter the league, front offices can kind of outthink themselves. They can get cute with a pick like that. And where you were in the draft and with the talent available, it just made sense at that moment, even before that pick was made. At least in my mind, I thought, well, here you go. I mean, it seemed obvious. They made the obvious pick. Now, does that mean that is there a chance that it could be a bust? Maybe, but I think actually less of a chance than other guys that you would take in the draft, especially a 19, 20-year-old unproven commodity. You know what you're getting with Denzel. You know you aren't getting a superstar, but you are getting a guy that is going to contribute.
You use the word commodity. There's not a lot of guys you get at 14 that actually are commodities, especially in a bad draft. And some people wanted them, it seems like, to go for a higher ceiling guy, but there weren't a lot of guys sitting there at 14. Like, Wade Baldwin's interesting, and maybe he turns out to be great.
Those tantalizing prospects.
Yeah, I mean,
really
Tony Snell was kind of supposed to be that guy when Tom Thibodeau wanted Gorgui Dieng, right? And he's turned into a good NBA player. Dieng has.
Yeah.
Well, what do you have with Tony Snell? He's not an NBA player, in my opinion, or he's a bottom of the bench guy. Tom Thibodeau wanted Draymond Green, and they went from Marquise Teague, who they thought could be the heir apparent, to Derrick Rose.
That was the name I was trying to think about.
Teague's out of the league.
Yeah.
Right? Get a guy who can help you. And that's what I've loved about, some of their picks in the past, whether it's Taj Gibson is a nice player. Even Doug McDermott, to me, is an NBA player. And I think he's going to get better. I think he's an NBA off-the-bench guy. And there's nothing wrong with that. No. You gave up a little bit to get him. But if he turns into a good shooter, as you imagine, and he keeps getting better, I think he was worth the pick. But swinging and missing for guys, it's not always the way to go.
No.
I mean, you only got so many chances at superstars, and you got to make those, but pick 14 usually isn't it.
One more segment for the week. You can always give us a call on the Jupiters of the Crossing phone line or text the Cheap Hour text line. Same number, 217-359-2255. It is the Tay and J Show.
DP Dough is the original Calzone company, and they cater all types and sizes of events, from office orders to private parties to entire visiting football teams. Everyone will be sure to enjoy something different than the same old sandwiches or pizza. DP Dough also delivers to nearly all of Champaign, Urbana, and Savoy until late at night. So give them a call or order online when you're hungry and no one else is delivering. With over 1 million calzones served since opening in 2006, DP Dough is sure to satisfy and fill you up. DP Dough, the original Calzone company.
This is Eric Bolin with Provident Financial Group. Are you getting the attention you deserve from your broker? When you partner with Provident, you get an advisor who stays focused on you and your family. We work for you. Contact us today to schedule a consultation. Find us online at ProvidentFinancialGroupLLC.com. Securities and advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network.
Provident, partnerships built on trust.
FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor.
Law Enforcement Official of the Month brought to you by Hickory River Smokehouse. There's nothing better. At 1706 North Cunningham in Urbana. U of I police officer Beth Weissel said her family was a little apprehensive when they heard that she wanted to be in police work.
My mom immediately was nervous and scared, and she said, "Where on earth would you ever get this idea?" I said, "Well, it's awesome. Look what everybody does, and they help people, and they get out there, and good attitudes and teamwork."
The best part of what she does?
Honestly, the best part is getting involved in Special Olympics.
What touches your heart about Special Olympics?
You know, when you hear the athletes' stories and they want to tell you their story, it's just incredible. And I know I went to school with some of the same athletes, and I wouldn't have known them walking through the halls.
Congratulations, U of I police officer Beth Weissel. Law Enforcement Official of the Month brought to you by Hickory River Smokehouse. If it's not Texas barbecue, it's not food. Hickory River, 1706 North Cunningham in Urbana. Law Enforcement Official of the Month brought to you by Dave's Firearms for all your shooting needs. Go to davesfirearms.com. U of I police officer Beth Weissel said her family was a little apprehensive when they heard that she wanted to be in police work.
My mom immediately was nervous and scared, and she said, "Where on earth would you ever get this idea?" I said, "Well, it's awesome. Look what everybody does, and they help people, and they get out there, and good attitudes and teamwork."
The best part of what she does?
Honestly, the best part is getting involved in Special Olympics.
What touches your heart about Special Olympics?
You know, when you hear the athletes' stories and they want to tell you their story, it's just incredible. And I know I went to school with some of the same athletes, and I wouldn't have known them walking through the halls.
Congratulations, U of I police officer Beth Weissel, for being the Stevie J Broadcasting Law Enforcement Official of the Month. Brought to you by Dave's Firearms for all your shooting needs. Go to davesfirearms.com.
Guidance, trust, protection, service. It's the mantra of GTPS Insurance. Finding the perfect solution for you, guiding you through the options, helping you through a claim, and adapting to your evolving needs. Since 1997, GTPS Insurance has provided coverage for your car, your home, your business, and your life. As an independent broker, GTPS Insurance Agency will shop around until they find the right coverage at the best price. Contact a GTPS Insurance agent today at 359-9000 or visit online at gtpsinsurance.com.
Hi, it's Corey with Max Twin City Recycling. We pride ourselves on giving the area an outlet to recycle and get paid for their unwanted metals. We're taking our community focus a step further with our Recycling for a Cause program. Each month, Max Twin City will choose a different local charity to feature in an effort to raise money for those causes. Visit maxrecycling.com for a complete list of program details.
Your local independent Beacon Insurance agent is part of your hometown. They're your friends and neighbors. They know you and your community. So when it comes to the right insurance coverage at the right price, you'll want to talk with the folks you can trust. Ask your local Beacon Insurance agent about the affordable insurance coverage for your car, your home, your business, and your family. They'll help you protect what matters most. And you can always count on beyond the expected service and coverage from Beacon Insurance. To find an agent near you, visit www.beaconinsurance.com.
Coach Mike Ditka is not just talking sports. What will he say next? Hear him here Monday and Friday mornings from 7:30 to 8 with Brother Johnny and me, Stevie J, on ESPN Radio 93.5.
Victorious!
Jeremy Warner's victory song for the 5 at 5. Because Juan is gone,
I showed up.
Jeremy wins by default.
Yes.
Tonight's 5 at 5.
Woo! I deserve that one, even though I could not think of Elizabeth Hurley's name. In the
I don't know how, man.
I think she was just in my head.
It's Vanessa Kensington.
Yeah. Do you know who one of my favorite British actresses is? Actresses is Rachel Weisz. I'm a big Rachel Weisz fan. She was the heroine in Mummy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I guess she was damsel in distress in Mummy 1.
Very pretty.
Yes.
Very pretty.
Very pretty. phenomenal accent, cool personality as well. She's been in some cool movies.
Is British, is that the sexiest accent? I think it might be.
I think so.
It's definitely better than a woman with a southern accent.
Russian, Southern Belle?
I find it excruciating.
Depends on how southern it is. Just a twang. Like I love a twang.
Okay, yeah,
like a southern twang.
I'm thinking comically exaggerated southern accent.
You're going, like West Virginia hillbilly kind of thing.
Sort of like the main character in Streetcar Named Desire.
Okay.
Like Blanche Dubois.
Never seen that movie.
You haven't?
No.
Well, do you remember the old Simpsons where Marge is in A Streetcar Named Desire? That's basically
possibly.
it. And Ned Flanders is the shirtless Marlon Brando type?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
A Streetcar Named Marge.
I'd probably go somewhere in the United Kingdom, or what was known as the United Kingdom.
Or do you kind of like
I love how Brexit has gotten a huge stamp on our show today.
I mean, if it has accomplished one thing, I think more people in the world today are talking about Britain than
British appreciation.
Yeah, I mean, when was the last time we talked about Britain this much?
Which, by the way, are you still going to pull up the Bill Pullman Independence Day?
I probably should.
I do have a game that we can play because we've talked a lot of NBA draft today. I mean, the world of Illinois is not crazy. Cubs have Cubs problems, but they'll be fine. The Cardinals are on the road in Seattle. The White Sox have a series against somebody. I mean, whatever. But I have a little game, a little list that I'm interested to see how good how well Mike Carpenter could do at this game.
Did you just say list?
I said I have a list.
All right.
He's got a list. Jeremy has got a list. He's got a list. Jeremy has got a list. 'Cause we love to go through lists just to mess with the lawn.
All right. This is going to be a tough one, but I think this is a fun one for you. Name in reverse chronological order the last Illini to get drafted.
Okay.
So you go from the last Illini to get drafted, and then you continue to go backwards, and we're throwing second-round picks in here.
Oh, boy. Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Myers Leonard,
the 11th overall pick in the 2012 draft to the Portland Trailblazers. 2012, you go back to?
Alex Legion. I'm just kidding. James Augustine,
the 46th overall pick. Or no, he was the 41st overall pick, so you got it wrong.
No.
The 46th was?
D. Brown.
Brown was 46 to Utah. James Augustine, 41 to Orlando Magic.
Okay. Luther Head the 24th overall pick in the 2005 NBA draft to the Houston Rockets. All-NBA rookie second team that year. Yeah, I know. A short-lived NBA career for Luther. It's too bad. Is he still playing that you know of?
I think he's playing overseas, and his brother Crandall is playing overseas.
No kidding.
I saw Crandall did a Luther, threw the ball off the backboard, and slammed it home.
Whoa.
He's got athleticism.
Well, he was always an athlete.
He always had that.
Darren Williams, third
overall pick back in 2005 with the Utah Jazz. Obviously, two-time gold medalist, three-time All-Star, NBA All-Star Weekend Skills Challenge winner.
Brian Cook.
No, that was... Oh, yeah, Brian Cook. I wasn't talking about
sorry. He's got
All-NBA
more
second
credentials.
team twice. All-NBA rookie first team for Darren Williams. Brian Cook is correct. 24th overall pick in the 2003 draft of the LA Lakers.
Robert Archibald.
Man, you're good at this game. I thought you would be. Robert Archibald, the 32nd overall pick of...
Grizzlies.
The Memphis Grizzlies back in 2002.
Frank Williams,
the 25th overall pick of the Denver Nuggets in 2002.
Oh, that's right. He got traded to the Knicks.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Before Frank.
From 2002 to way back.
Yeah.
You're going back a little bit here.
Kawan Garris.
Kawan Garris was not drafted.
Okay, but he did play for Denver. Okay, so
He
are we
was
going
not
back
drafted.
before Kawan? I mean, Deion Thomas didn't get drafted, did he?
Yes.
He did.
Deion Thomas is next on the list, 1994. So he went from 94 to 2002 without a draft pick. He was the 28th overall pick. That was the second round to the Dallas Mavericks.
Okay, before Deion.
This is where it gets, you got to see if you can get this in order, which is interesting.
Let's see. The same year, Kendall Gill and Marcus Liberty would have went out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing Marcus Liberty.
42nd overall of the Denver Nuggets.
And then Kendall Gill.
You're missing one in between.
No kidding. Oh, Bardo.
Stephen Bardo, 41st overall, the Atlanta Hawks. And, of course, Kendall Gill, the 5th overall pick, friend of the Tay and J Show, NBA All-Rookie First Team.
Kenny Battle,
1989, first round, 27th overall pick of the Detroit Pistons. And?
Nick Anderson,
11th overall, to the Orlando Magic in 89.
Before that, Ken Norman.
You got one guy got drafted, but it was late.
Blackwell?
No. Kenny's teammate.
Oh.
Guard forward.
Ken Norman's teammate?
Yes.
Anthony Welch?
Doug Altenberger.
Oh, okay.
6th round to the Chicago Bulls.
6th round.
Back in the day. I'm only going to go top 2 rounds from
All
here on out. Ken Norman was the 19th overall pick of the LA Clippers.
Okay.
This one's interesting. I will go back to 1986. There's a 3rd round pick it's a pretty big name in Illinois sports.
Bruce Douglas? No.
Yes, Bruce Douglas.
Okay.
3rd round, 57th overall pick of the Kings back in 86.
Ephraim didn't get drafted.
Ephraim got drafted 4th round in the 86 of the Atlanta Hawks. Scott Meents as well went 4th round of the Chicago Bulls. Anthony Welch went 3rd round that year as well. They have 4 draft picks that year.
Before that, Derek Harper?
One between Bruce Douglas and Derek Harper.
Wow.
I think your dad liked this guy.
Ephraim was his favorite.
He's a big man.
Oh, Weatherspoon?
George Montgomery,
that's right. Yep.
2nd round, 39th overall pick of the Trailblazers. Derek Harper,
Eddie
1983.
Johnson.
Yes, Eddie was the 2nd round pick back in 1981.
Pretty good career for a 2nd round pick.
Yeah, 6th man of the year, 1989. The all-time leading scorer among Illini basketball players in the NBA.
Cool.
Yeah, so well done. Nick
Thanks.
Weatherspoon was 1st round back in 1973. Mike Price was 1st round in 1970. And another 1st round, George Bonsall back in 1957. And Johnny Red Kerr, 1st round, 9th pick back in 1954.
Okay.
And Don Sunderledge, the 9th pick of the Philadelphia Warriors back in 1951.
All right.
Well done, Cart.
Thank you, sir.
I knew you'd do well with that.
Yeah, I felt pretty confident. When you pitched that during the break, I said, yeah, I can do that.
You did well in the order. Stephen No, theathletic.com, talked some Bulls earlier in the show. Michael Weisenberg, NBADraft.net, and Graham Couch, Lansing State Journal. If you missed any show, get the podcast, ESPNCU.com. Find us on iTunes, all powered by GTPS Insurance. The Prod Squad will be doing a podcast after this. You can hear that later tonight. Just on the Tay and J podcast page. Thanks to Nathan DeSutter on updates, Austin Berkland, our producer, as well as Brendan Dworzinski, our intern.
Have a great weekend, everybody. We leave you with this.
Happy Independence Day.
In less than an hour, aircraft from here will join others from around the world. And you will be launching the largest aerial battle in the history of mankind. Mankind, that word should have new meaning for all of us today. We can't be consumed by our petty differences anymore. We will be united in our common interest. Perhaps it's fate that today is the 4th of July, and you will once again be fighting for our freedom. Not from tyranny, oppression, or persecution, but from annihilation. We're fighting for our right to live, to exist. And should we win the day, the 4th of July will no longer be known as an American holiday, but as the day when the world declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
Bunny's Tavern, the best kept secret in downtown Urbana since 1936. Come enjoy $13.50 mix and match domestic buckets 7 days a week. Enjoy Bunny's 10 big screen TVs, whether you're inside or enjoying the summer weather. On Fridays, enjoy a dry battered or grilled cod sandwich all day and all night. With delicious daily lunch and dinner specials, Bunny's Tavern may not stay a secret for long. Come check out what people in Champaign-Urbana have been whispering about for over 75 years. Bunny's Tavern.
No matter what age, braces can give you that beautiful smile you've been hoping for. If you have crooked teeth or a misaligned bite, West Main Dental in downtown Urbana has a variety of treatments that can help straighten your teeth, including braces, Invisalign, and retainers. And right now, West Main Dental is offering $500 off orthodontic services. That's right, $500 off. Call today for a free consultation to get that beautiful smile you deserve. Mention this ad to find out how you can save $500. Some restrictions apply. See office for details. The staff at West Main Dental is well trained, and they're dedicated in making your orthodontic treatment a memorable and enjoyable experience. Let West Main Dental give you the smile that you deserve. West Main Dental in downtown Urbana, 607-1292, and online at westmaindental.com.
If you're nearing retirement or thinking about retirement, you probably have lots of questions. How do you make your savings last? How much did you take out and when? You're ready to retire, but are your finances? I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Mike Kessel. Let's work together to ensure your financials can keep up with your unique needs over the long haul. You've done what it takes to get there. Now it's time to make the most of retirement. Stop by our office at 1701 Broadmoor Drive, Suite 110 in Champaign for a face-to-face appointment. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
When you're heading home, Tay and J are on your way talking sports. Weekday afternoons 3 to 6 here on ESPN Radio 93.5.
It seems like in every home, there's at least one room that's either too hot or too cold. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. Mitsubishi Electric has your comfort solution. Mitsubishi Electric cooling and heating systems are up to 40% more efficient with no ductwork and whisper quiet. Individual room control, giving you the freedom to find your perfect comfort level and save money too. Make your whole home comfortable again. See Lance Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing for your comfort solution and live better.
Hi, I'm Troy Lands from Lands Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Lands is your local Mitsubishi Electric Diamond dealer. Our technicians are experts at solving your comfort needs, one room or your whole house. Let us show you how a Mitsubishi Electric Heating and Cooling System can save you money now. Your comfort is our priority. Call Lands today at 1-800-AIR-REPAIR or find us online at landsinc.com. I'm Troy Lands, and you can count on my company because you can count on me.
Hey, Cardinal fans, July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th is loaded with great giveaways. Friday, July 1st, the 1926 Replica World Series Championship ring presented by Edward Jones. After the game, stay in your seat for a Cooper Tires Fireworks Night. July 2nd, the adult replica Matt Carpenter batting practice jersey presented by Ford. Sunday, the Coca-Cola Cardinals Cooler Backpack. And on the 4th of July, it's the Cardinals Pillbox Baseball Cap presented by Brown & Crouppen. Tickets available at cardinals.com/promotions.
Live from the Habib BPC Studios, this is WSJK Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
Kevin Winter, Major League Baseball's got the show.